The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTRTV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. Another trip to the Lady in Black. The 1.366 mile egg-shaped oval in South Carolina that got its shape due to preserving the very famous minnow pond off of turn number 4. 2.5 lanes of racing action consolidates these drivers into the toughest and most treacherous racetrack on the schedule. And one more thing, it's throwback night. As a track that has been on the circuit since the late 1940s in the inception, we take it here to celebrate NASCAR history both in the real world and in the simulated world. So all should make for a fun night of action. Welcome everyone to PTRTV for tonight's coverage of the Spartan SimRacing League with their race number 9, Darlington 250, I believe it actually is here, again at the Lady in Black. Giving you the calls here on Pseudo Throwback Night, myself, Corey Silva, and Andre Grumbush here to give us the calls and the action here from the toughest track in NASCAR, the Lady in Black. Well, Andre, we went to 2 weeks ago at Dover, probably, one of the other most difficult tracks, and we come here to Throwback Night, the Lady in Black, known for the Darlington stripes, and of course, all these retro paint schemes.
Yeah, definitely a couple of difficult tracks back to back, that's for sure. It's such a unique way you have to drive this track, especially turns 1 and 2 with how wide they are. You drive it in so deep, and you actually want to enter the corner low. You see them down on that dashed white line, and then they're going to drift up to that outside wall and try to avoid giving themselves a Darlington stripe. But ooh. Yeah, there's a stripe right there. That's a Darlington dent maybe, but yeah, you got to drive it in really low, really fast. Very little off-throttle time on fresh tires in 1 and 2, and then you got to get to 3 and 4, and you got to reprogram your brain and say, okay, this is not a wide open turn just like 1 and 2, so you got to slow down about 130, 140 maybe on fresh tires. Just completely different at both ends, and I would say it gives the guys in the shop a bit of a tall order to try to set up a car for this.
Yeah. Well, it does certainly the case, but if there's one guy that knew how to get around this track back in the day, it is the one and only Benny Parson from NBC, and to kind of bring Throwback Night into the simulator video game-esque element, let's go have BP show us how to run this place with EA Sports Thunder Motion.
Let's go inside EA Sports Thunder Motion. Wally talked about it. Here's how you make a pass at Darlington. Inside our TNT Pontiac. We pull up alongside Jeff Gordon as we come off the corner. We have position on him. When we get down to turn 1, Gordon backs off. I take the TNT car down in the corner. He follows me. Now here's what not to do. Don't go in the corner side by side, because that is about always the end result. And we talk about tires. I'm out here on worn tires. Wally, been out here 50 or 60 laps. I need some tires.
BP, watch out. I got fresh tires, and I'm going to be about 2 seconds a lap quicker than you, so see you later. You better get in, or I'm going to leave you.
Tires, tire management, whoever plays the game best may hold the trophy at the end of the day here in Darlington.
Alright, so now that we have a little idea of how to get around Darlington, I know BP was talking about the Darlington etiquette of you don't necessarily want to enter side by side in turn 1, because if you do, you'll probably end up around or the other driver. So Darlington etiquette is something that a lot of leagues know, a lot of drivers know, and a lot of drivers, Ross Chastain, don't care about, Andre, so we'll see how that comes into effect here tonight.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a little bit of give and take in the early portions of the race. But I'd say after stage 2, which the stage break is lap 75, once we get into the final stage, that etiquette is going to fade away. Things are going to get a lot more aggressive. And honestly, you can do too wide at Darlington. You just got to do it very carefully.
Yeah, don't talk to Ross Chastain about that. But we got to go down and give you the ESPN Speed World starting lineup here today from the Darlington Raceway. Johan Seminario on the pole once again with Scott Healy to his outside. Row number 2 finds Kendall Levron, and then Timothy Latham hot off his win at Dover. Tanner Marty in 5th with Justin Levine rolling off in the 6th spot out of Brooklyn, New York. Justin Boyles, captain, bump draft, spin world, money bags the 3rd, I think so there we left on those lines. And Chad Guttingsman with an 8th, and then 9th and 10th you find Gage Swan and Dave Hughes off of his last podium at Dover.
A little bit further back, Ty Ippolito is going to be rolling off P11 right next to Heath Snyder in 12th. 13th belongs solely to Devin Medeiros. He's right next to Dakota Jorgensen for 14th. 15th is Kyle Francis Lee Miller. Jason D. Baker is going to be 16th. 17 goes to J.D. Baker, and 18 goes to Joshua Campbell. Getting through the top 20 here, Corey Saucier is going to be 19th, and Jordan Sailors is going to round out the top 20. And the rest of the field here, Kenny Reel in 21st, Brian Mabry in 22nd, should he grid. And that is going to do it for our starting lineup.
Very quickly, our point standings here, as we're a little abbreviated in our coverage here. Justin Levine here. This is the end of Group 3, so we'll have another group winner that will give us some championship, more eligibility there. Levine. Timothy Latham getting himself some momentum here up in the 2nd spot in points, and then Jason Baker 3rd. You can see a lot of wins here. The only winner on the screen, not on the screen, Gage Swan, of course, as a latecomer to the series here at our race details. We've kind of aforementioned a little bit of them. Stage at 75, 5-6 tires in the pits. Those will be very much needed. And of course, no fast repairs, 21 incidents in a tiered format of penalties that will eventually lead to disqualification. But coming through 3 and 4 here, 1 pace lap, and pace car will enter the toughest pit lane here in NASCAR racing. He'll enter the pits, and we will go on the flagman's call. Of course, that man is Barney. Welcome to Darlington. Welcome to Throwback Week. Spartan SimRacing League at Darlington is underway, and we're racing here at South Carolina.
The sun might be setting, but the race is just getting started. Number 56 down low, and he's going to get out to the lead pretty quickly there. Didn't want to be side by side for long. As you mentioned, you really want to get single file as quickly as you can, but for the most part, looks like the whole field's going to manage to at least get through the turn, although a little bit of smoke off the wall, so we've already got some Darlington
somebody going down. Who's that?
Somebody possibly
This could,
with penalties.
Yes, I always kind of forget the exact credentials of them, and I know I'll get roasted for it in post, but some drivers who do have issues at the prior race will have to suffer penalties upon the start of the next race. Looks like we have Captain Bump Draft, Justin Boyles, J.D. Baker, Jason Baker, Jason D. Baker, Corey Saucier, and Jordan Sailor. So they will hope for a caution to get themselves regrouped, because that stage is in quite some time, Andre. We'll have a green flag stop or some kind of pit stop in between. And the thing with Darlington, it goes very akin to Dover with how it races in terms of green flag competition. This thing will either have a cluster and we can't run 3 laps, or this thing can go tidy and green the entire way.
Yeah, it really comes down to the drivers and what kind of mood they're in. I would say they kind of have to give a little bit, and they got to take a little bit, but they can't be too aggressive, because this track just does not permit for it. It's not wide enough, and well, that safer barrier is it might be safer, but it's not very forgiving. So we are single filed out for the most part all the way through the field, with looks like one driver trying to make a move back there. That's going to be an Alan Kulwicki throwback in the Hooters machine, just diving down the low line.
I was just muted there. So, okay, I just had to make sure, because I got roasted for this the other day on 100% D2, because Dave Fuge, I thought it was Alan Quickie. It was actually Brett Bodine, because, you know, who actually remembers Brett Bodine? I mean, really, let's be honest.
Nobody.
Exactly. And there is a couple. So basically, the thing with this league, there was kind of a requirement here, as that is Ippolito making the pass on Guttingsman. The throwback that you ran, or run, I suppose, in current tense, has to match your car number. There were a very limited amount of number changes permitted just for the sake of running a throwback. So out of their normal uniform, if you will, is going to be Jason Baker. He's in the 7 car tonight. I think. Perhaps. Yep.
Technically the 711, but yes.
Yeah, so he's allowed to run the 7 car, even though he's still registered in Sim as 51. And then Doc Holliday, he is going to have a 13 throwback, but I don't think he's here anyways, so kind of a moot point on that. But everybody else, the throwback will match the real-life car that it is emulating.
Interesting. Now, wait a minute. When was the Hooters car in 19 then?
I just read the rules as they were told to me. Wait.
I'm genuinely trying to remember. Was there a 19 Hooters car? Well, technically, that's a 1,919 Hooters car.
Okay, so what we will have to do, so this basically due to technical issues, because we are retro, you know, so we're going to refresh the good old TP and validate that, but let me see if I can dig that up. So while we wait for some things to kind of recoup in the background, I do have the screenshot, and I think you may have it as well, Andre, where we can actually certify this.
That is true. Dave Fuge did throw together a graphic that showed all the throwbacks side by side, and I'm sure there was a 19 Hooters car. It's just kind of eluding me at this point.
Yep,
I don't remember who it was.
It looks like it was back from the 80s. And again, I know in post we will get crucified for not knowing this, but Loy Allen? I'm trying to read the door from over there. It could be Loy Allen.
That sounds right. I knew that he was sponsored by Hooters. I didn't realize that it was a 19 car. That kind of slipped by. But interesting. That's an interesting throwback of all the Hooters cars to go with. You're right. You kind of think either Alan Kulwicki or the number 11 Hooters machine.
Yeah, so someone
Bodine.
actually did remember Brett Bodine for at least a very short moment. Oh, okay, so Andre, if you go and look at the poll that, by the way, I looked at PTRTV, if you look at the PTRTV Facebook, you will have a link on our recent post for the race to the throwback poll. I'll actually throw that in our YouTube chat. So you can go until the end of the race at 10 p.m. Eastern time and vote for your favorite throwback. So as more time elapses in the race, we'll kind of focus on them a little bit closer. Gage Swan here. Looks like he's trying to make a move on Tanner Marty, who is in the Hardy's machine. Hardy's being, I believe, Kaylee Yarborough. But I will double check that with our poll here, which fully lists the exact emulation, which takes a lot of the guesswork out for us.
Yeah, I believe that is going to be a Yarborough throwback, but in the meantime, he's got the number 2 right behind him, looking to make a move, Chevy versus Chevy, and it's just a matter of waiting for the right opportunity. This is not a track where you're really able to force the issue. If you force the issue, well, you're going to be finding yourself in the wall, either the inside or the outside, depending. So you kind of just have to wait for the driver in front of you to make a big mistake or kind of let you by, but just trying to brute force your way through is not going to work. So he's kind of going to have to play the patience game back there in that number 2, just right around behind the 55. And right here, well, the 1,119 machine is currently under fire from the 29. That is a Kevin Harvick throwback to a throwback. Interesting.
Yeah, and just as little tidbits of information, which we will sprinkle in here on Throwback Night, or being old on Throwback Night is the only time to do it, is a little wall contact there from Heath. The 19 car, Loy Allen, this was the 1994 Daytona 500 pole winning livery paint scheme, depending on what side of the pond you're on. So this car actually did something of significant note.
That is interesting. That is interesting. But yeah, that 29 machine, that was when Kevin Harvick threw back to Dale Sr., I believe. And so it's a throwback of a throwback. But there's the number 20 machine. He is giving himself a Darlington strike right there. That's going to let these guys behind him close in. And they probably would have closed in more, but they got side by side. And they're going to go into 1 and 2, door to door. The number 29 machine down on that dash white line. He's going to cut up across the nose. There was certainly contact there. The 4 car now 3 or 4 car lengths further back than he was. He had to lift with that number 9 spam car behind him. Very iconic paint scheme there. We're going to go on board with Dakota Jorgensen as he works his way into 3 and 4. These cars, these 3 have not let up on one another. Even after the contact, 4 is reeling the 29 back in. And, well, look at behind the number 9. We got the 17 back in the throwback. And Dale Jr. himself
Nope.
gonna give himself a Darlington stripe.
And then we got old DW with his Gatorade ride. That goes back, well, Gatorade slash Ray's Energy, and some big looseness there. Perhaps a spam car put some grease down.
That is, it's a firm possibility. Although, we don't want to say that spam is greasy. We could get sued. Although, are they even still a company? Do they even exist?
Inexplicably, people will still eat that. I mean, it's basically just a hot dog just mushed into a rectangular, well, cylindrical can. I mean, I guess it's kind of it's like a cylinder and a rectangle with just some mystery hot dog meat thrown into it, more or less. I mean, I've never really been a spam eater, but that's what I've inferred of it anyways.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they're even still a company, but another battle right here. Looks like the number 5 trying his best to hold off some hard-charging cars behind, but he's going to dive down low in the 64. He's going to sneak on by on the high side. Thank you for that position, he says, as the 5 was pretty kind there. You can tell he kind of let off the throttle. He didn't fight too hard for that.
Jeff Bodine, All-Star Racing. A whole bunch of question marks populate my aging brain, but we'll take that for what it is. Does look pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that is Jeff Bodine. That number font, you're the only one driver I think ever used that specific 5. But man, oh man, just so many good paint schemes in the field. And number 2, we talked about it a few laps ago. He had to be patient behind the 55. Well, he's still being patient, Corey. He has not made the move yet. Gets a little bit loose on the apron there. And he is just kind of stuck where he's at. And that's kind of the downside of Darlington. And I know that from a driver's perspective, it can get pretty frustrating watching that car through your windshield, knowing that, maybe I'm a little bit quicker, but man, you got to drive the track first before you even think about making the pass.
Yeah, and this next-gen car, combined with the overall state of the driving model here on iRacing, you do drive Darlington a little bit differently here. We'll go kind of with the front camera here on Tanner Marty. Back in the day, you would want to enter turn 1 all the way down here and clip the apron there, and kind of saw Latham almost do it, but you'd actually get that left side completely on the apron and then throw the car all the way up to the wall and then diamond it hard off a 2 there, and I think Latham is just going to voluntarily relinquish the position there. But in this new world, you really can't do that anymore. That's why I'm not good anymore, because I only know how to drive one way, and once I have to change it, I just can't do it anymore. Haha, Jimmy Johnson and Cup. But it's just, you have to drive this car really, really straight. You can't expect it to do too many things, because when you try to get a 3,400-pound vehicle with very minimal downforce, very minimal side force, you try to get it to do too much, that's when you cause it to inject some problems into your life.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I think, comes down to the rear end. The reason you got to drive this car so differently, having that independent rear suspension and just having the geometry of the car be what it is, it's not going to drive like a traditional stock car anymore. It's going to be a lot different from what we're used to. And I know the trucks on iRacing, you still kind of drive that line where you're down on the dashed white line, sling it up to the top, and it's kind of the same for Xfinity, but you get that independent rear suspension, and the car just does not feel the same in the rear end, and you don't really have as much confidence in it to actually make that turn. And when you're playing a game of inches here, just trying to stay off the wall, then that confidence is absolutely paramount.
Yeah, it most certainly is, and all about getting your rhythm here and learning the boundaries of the car, learning the boundaries of the tires, and which is very dynamic, because the tires will have a certain amount of grip one lap and they will not have a certain amount of grip the next lap. So you always have to expect that degradation kind of on the fly here. Now, we have definitely spread out here, and one thing that really stands out to me is Devin Medeiros, who, he won 2 races this season. He's just really not, I'd say, like a little bit of a funk the last maybe 2-3 races, and just not showing that speed that we had, upon the first probably 5-6 races of the season. So it could be setups, it could be maybe he's busy in real life, can't get the practice in, whatever the reasoning may be, whatever the seasoning is, salt, pepper, garlic powder, I don't know, but it's not really having that same effect he had earlier.
Yeah, and it could just be that he's in a funk. Sometimes you have a bad race, you kind of get in your own head, and then you start overthinking things. You're like, why did I do so bad? What went wrong? And you're just kind of judging yourself on every little input. You're thinking, did I turn the wheel a little bit too much? Did I drive it in too deep? And you're not really driving on instinct at that point, and that's exactly what you need to be doing. A guy I used to race RC cars with always said, if you have to think about it, you've already crashed. So you don't want to be overly critical of yourself. You don't want to be thinking about it too hard, but that's what happens when you get in a funk and you start to kind of doubt yourself. So you want to build that confidence up, make sure that you're comfortable in the car, and maybe Devin Medeiros has just lost that comfort and that confidence. He's got to rebuild it, and this is not an easy track to build confidence, that's for sure. If you do well, yeah, you're going to be feeling pretty good about yourself. But the thing is, I don't think there's too many cars that are going to escape this track without having tapped the wall a few times, maybe gotten to another car a time or two. It's going to be a rough race for everybody by the time that checkered flag flies. So you know, we don't really even have that many quote-unquote easy tracks coming up on the schedule either. So if he's in a funk now, he's got to maybe figure out a way to turn this train around.
Yeah, because after this race, which is the last race of Group 3 rather, so with the group system, the winner of the little 3-race segment, if you will automatically gain entry and eligibility to win the championship, which will take place in mid-October. But next week we head to Nashville Super Speed. Oh wait, no, next week. We head to Charlotte next week. I'm looking at the wrong graphic here. The anomaly in the room is we head to the Red Bull Ring, a Formula One circuit in Austria, which sounds crazy, but the layout is actually pretty simple, so it shouldn't be that bad. And then we head to North Wilkesboro, of course, which is getting its fame if you're watching this live this coming week, which I have never been more excited to watch a NASCAR race in my life than I am. I don't just want to watch the race. I want to watch the Open. I want to watch every single NASCAR race hub. I want to watch every practice, every late model. I just want to soak up everything to do with Wilkesboro this coming week.
Yeah, I wish I shared your excitement. To me, I'm just a little bit baffled that they waited until they had a car with an awful short track package to bring back an iconic short track.
I didn't say I was excited for the racing. I'm in it for the people of North Wilkesboro. I'm in it for the story. I'm in it for the hype, the revitalization. But the beauty is, and I know iRacing doesn't emulate this, they're estimating like 4 seconds of tire fall off there. So Kyle Busch even said that they're, if you push it on lap 5, you might have killed your entire run. And he said that Josh Berry in a late model race basically went so slow that he basically went a lap down and then decided to kick it into gear, got his lap back, and then won the race just because he knew how to save tires there. So that is, and Kyle Busch said, I don't know how to do that. So that part of it should be entertaining, even if the downforce and all that fun stuff is still broken.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a fun story. The fact that people have been asking for this track to come back pretty much since it went away. I mean, even back in the day, it was a baffling decision. I know a lot of people are saying things like, oh, it's just nostalgia. People are just nostalgic. But no, even back in the day, when it lost its dates and it got replaced, people were immediately opposed to that. And I don't think that opposition ever really went away. People have been really, really fighting to get that track back on the schedule, and we finally did. And
look what happened to it. So, of course, Texas Motor Speedway, and I mean, we are getting a little off track here, but just in full transparency, there's not too much going on track right now. We did just see Scott Healy and Justin Levine trade positions there. Johan Seminario up by almost 4 seconds here, and we are at lap 75. And, well, one thing to note, and we will get back to North Wilkesboro, because I do have one more thing to say about it. Fuel load, pit stops, and missed pit road. Scott Healy, toughest pit lane in motorsports. Because remember, we have a green flag. We have the 50% fuel load. So yeah, right around 40 laps. This is the fuel load. So the pit stops will be right around the corner here. Well, if not right now. But the pit stops here are just so difficult. We're on board Tanner Marty. It doesn't look like he's going to pit right now, but you can see that cone, that yellow line at the bottom of the track. You basically are just turning hard left and peeling off blind and just hoping that when you get down there, you've made the pits.
Yeah, you're really just going in blindfolded, hoping for the best, and it is not an easy entrance, as we saw with the 64 giving up all that time missing pit road. That is going to be hugely costly. He's coming down with a gaggle of cars. He's got Levine in front of him. He's got the number 2 machine out back. Another car a little bit further back. That's the 29. I can see that Wrangler car a mile away. He's going to pull into the pit stall, get the tires swapped out, get some fuel. Here comes the number 5 machine. He's currently our provisional leader, though he has yet to pit. The driver who was leading by about 4 seconds already did come down pit road. He's out and away. That's the 56. We'll keep an eye on Latham. Latham, you know, ever since they gave him the cucumber, Corey, he's not come back to get that win again and lock himself back in. And it's frustrating because he's come so close so many times to getting that win back and you know, kind of, I guess, coming back with a vengeance and reinstating a win, but it seems to go wrong, usually at the end of the race, and it just hasn't come to fruition. So maybe tonight will be different. Maybe the power of that number 5 Jeff Bodine machine will imbue him a win, but we'll have to wait and see. The 56, I think, is going to take this lead back, no question. He's asked to kind of undercut most of the field.
I just saw some come to Leveron. Where are you? There you are. Yeah, he has the lead right now, and I will tell you, Latham, very, very conservative entry here. Now, Leveron, again, I mean, there could be a driver's meeting rule that we weren't told of, that they have to pit in a certain spot or intent their, you know, their move. But a couple drivers peeled off center 3 and 4, and you know, Leveron and Latham both very conservative, which this early in the race, maybe it's worth giving up a second or two just to not completely throw your race upside down.
Yeah, definitely. And I think communication getting on pit road is going to be key here, because it's not like you can really pull off on the back straightaway and just drive all the way down to the pits. That's a long drive. Nobody's really going to be doing that. They're going to be peeling off mid-corner, and given how tight 3 and 4 are, if somebody gets on the brakes in front of you, and that can definitely catch you off guard. They might go from being completely out of view to filling up your windshield and making contact real quick. So there's got to be a little bit of communication there. And everybody did a good job of it, I think, getting down pit road. We didn't really see any issues. But we're going on board with Justin Levine in that number 1. He is currently 5.4 seconds back from Seminario, who has taken the lead back after everything cycled through. Latham winding up P6, although he does have about a lap and a half fresher tires, so we'll see if that's any benefit whatsoever. But tires may not matter if he's got Snyder really breathing it down his neck here, trying to force the issue. He's just got to give it to him. And that's the second time I've seen something like that, Corey. These guys are being very courteous in this race, letting the faster drivers go, not fighting too hard. They don't want to be side by side. I think the track is the track itself is pressing square to intimidate, but the question is, when does that end? You know, when do people stop lifting, and when do they just say, all right, you know what, one of us is going into the corner and one of us is not coming out, and who's it going to be?
Yeah, that would be the driver who went to the Ross Chastain School of Racing there, as we saw many times in the past 10 races in real life. There goes Jordan Sailors. He is 1 lap down, and worth noting as well, 2 cars have retired from the race. Josh Campbell behind the wall, and J.D. Baker, who I don't think actually turned in it. Nope, he's 30 laps down, so he is out of it. And then we have Brian Mabry, who is 20 laps down in the Dale Mobile. Still on track, but well behind in the effort. But one thing, just to wrap up the topic of North Wilkesboro, as you said, a lot of people upset that it was bought and, you know, just basically just siphoned away from. And look where it went to. It went to Texas Motor Speedway, which admittedly had 200,000 plus for probably the first 4 to 5 years. Now they can't even pull 35,000. They lost a race. They had an all-star race that was absolutely potato. They lost that. The track is ruined. Up until just 2 years ago, they lost any credibility with IndyCar here, as here comes Heath Snyder underneath Ippolito here. That is for 5th. So the track has lost all credibility and is going in the pooper. And then Loudon had 2 races, down to 1. And as a New England native, I can tell you, even the 1 race is barely 50% capacity. So it lost 2 races for tracks that were experiments that failed. But the thing that they should do well, and I think they are going to do it, they're basically making it an as-seen for TV race. They're not going to go build 70,000, 80,000 grandstands there. They're probably going to keep it right at 25,000. and they're going to play the supply and demand game, and you're going to want to earn that very, very rare ticket there, and kind of learn what, supply and demand, and getting on that drop and getting those tickets right away. That's how the new world is. And if they do that, I think North Wilkesboro will be fine for years to come.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, really most of these races, the income that they get, majority of it is from the TV deal, and the actual at-track attendance is just kind of an afterthought. It's the cherry on top, I guess, but it's definitely not their primary focus. So leaving the grandstands alone, not only does it preserve the, I guess, kind of historical way the track was, but also it kind of saves them some money not having to renovate it and just kind of leaving it alone.
And doesn't tax the roads, because remember, that place is in the middle of nowhere, which largely akin to Darlington as well. I mean, this track, it's not, now I'm going to make myself pull up Google Maps here, but this place is not near Myrtle Beach. It's not in a very well-known location. It's kind of in desolate middle of nowhere, South Carolina. And, back in the day, the 90s, people would come out when gas was 79 cents a gallon. We'd get these 150,000 people to every single track, because you could afford to, load up the camper with 300 gallons of gas and hike the family down, take a vacation. But, it's hard to do that in this new age, so let alone with streaming and every other form of, 5-second attention spans and everything we have these days.
Yeah, that's true. I'm also just kind of salty that we can bring Nazareth, or we can bring North Wilkesboro back, but we can't bring back Nazareth because when NASCAR sold that property, or whenever it was sold by whoever owned it, it was a stipulation when they sold it, like, whoever buys this property, you cannot reinstate the track. You can't put Nazareth as it was, because we don't want to interfere with Pocono, of all places. So Nazareth ran so that Pocono could crawl and throw up on itself. That's just something I'll never
still
get over.
Has good attendance here, as here comes Latham by Ippolito, those one-lap fresher tires.
It has good attendance, but that's just because there's nothing to do in Pennsylvania.
There's mountains. It actually is a good camping and vacation site that I actually may be visiting in a few years, but the racing is just kind of an afterthought, especially now that IndyCar doesn't want to go down there with all the issues and tragedies that have come afoot there. And on the same vein, Pikes Peak International Raceway held Busch Series and Truck Series races early 2000s, and similar fate. It was bought, as Ippolito in the fence there. It was bought, and it wasn't closed down, but it was said that it can never hold major tier professional racing, so it's only forever going to be a club circuit. And that was another ISC thing, because they were actually planning on building a full-blown speedway in Denver, which is why they didn't want Pikes Peak to live, and then they never built the track in Denver, and then ruined Pikes Peak. So again, this is throwback night, so this is why you're learning all this useless and hopefully vaguely interesting information here. But as the racing does come up, of course, we will intervene with that, as we do have it, what looks to be a battle shaping up. Gage Swan in fourth, just behind Levine. Levine just behind Scott Healy. All of this 5.5 seconds behind Johan Seminario. Just ahead of these guys is Kyle F.L. Miller. We'll try to shorthand his name there in the DeWalt ride, and it's going to be a tight squeeze getting by him off turn 2 here.
Yeah, how about that number 2 of Swan? He finally gets around the 55 via the pit cycle. And he's able to, not really have to play it patient anymore. And then he immediately finds himself in traffic again. The drivers in front of him going too wide. The 64 getting a little bit loose out of the corner. So again, he's just stuck in traffic, as he has been all night long. It's been 53 laps of frustration, I'm sure, for this driver. But he's still working his way up through the grid. And the pit sequence went very well for him. He gained quite a few positions, actually. So even if he's just got to ride around, riding around in the top 5 is not too shabby, especially when you look at the lap times. 29.6 last time by for Swan. Healy was a 30.1, 29.6 for Levine, 29.4 for our leader. So he's competitive. He's got lap times. He's just kind of got to hope that drivers in front of him maybe open up the door. And the big thing, don't let Seminario get too far out, because right now we're in stage 1. We're going to have that stage break at 75, and these drivers are going to be able to rack and stack the field, be right with each other. after we start stage 2, we don't have any more guaranteed cautions. So they got to figure out a way to run down that 56 and match his pace, because he has been the car to beat all night long. Other thing I'm thinking about here, Corey, is, okay, so the stage is 75.
Yes.
And most of these drivers pit on 35. At least a few of them started on 35. So if they double that, that's 70. Are they going to be able to stretch that extra 5 laps?
Johan right here, he pit on 35, and it'd be 40 laps to the finish. So I think the absolute farthest that I saw, and I'm just looking at my back-end data here to validate that, Jason Baker pit 15 laps ago, but he's 3 laps down. So of guys on the lead lap, the latest pit stop was Kendall Leveron, who pitted 16 laps ago, so 5 laps before, or rather after Johan. So
they could then.
So I think Kendall Leveron, I mean, it just depends. I mean, I don't think anybody went 40 laps. So if there's going to be a pit stop, whoa! That is Johan getting by Chad Gunningsman here, who's now going a lap down. So that puts Kendall Leveron, who's just ahead. We just spoke of him. Puts him in the sucker hole to go on the lap down. And I hope I'm saying his name right, Johan. There was a picture on the Minnesota Twins, Johan Santana. He was a Cy Young winner back in the early 2000s. So when I see that name, that's how I gravitate. So again, if I haven't been told I'm wrong, I'm going to assume that I'm right.
Yeah, I just read it that way because of the anime monster. The main villain was named Johan, and that's just what I think of every time I see the name. So if we're getting it wrong, we're getting it wrong for different reasons, but in the same way.
Yeah, it's always sports related for me. That's just all I know. My TV watches 3 things. It watches sports, the news, and whatever my kids want. Literally nothing else.
Yeah, I can relate. I mean, mostly sports, but I'm also a massive weeb, so, you know, there's anime occasionally. But 56 still leading the way. Look at those lap times. 29.608, 29.668 to Levine, 29.8 for Swan, 29.9. So not only is he leading, but he is still pretty much the fastest car on the track, at least of the top 5.
And the gap is up a second from when we validated Levine about 10 laps ago, so...
Yeah, he is just driving away with it. Whatever he's doing, he's got that track figured out. And I'm noticing, Corey, he's actually doing that line that, you know, you said doesn't really work as well in this car. He's down on that dash white line, and he slings it up to that outside wall. Is huge contact right in front of the number 7. I can't quite tell who that was.
Yeah, it was behind the leader, but it was off the lead lap, so it was kind of skewing me as to who it was, but we'll just, have to appreciate it from the long shot, I suppose.
It may have been the 64. No, Healy is still there. So I'm not sure who it might have been then.
I'm just taking a look here. I am getting a note as of about a minute ago that Tanner Marty may have crashed, or so my overlays believe he did. Oh, yeah. That was a thing. We got a second shot of that.
So he's right behind the number 4. The Ford gets in the wall, and a little bit of contact with the rear bumper puts him back in the outside wall, and just a ton of momentum lost right there.
Yeah, that is a squished burger there. So Marty 1 lap down. Dave Fuge still on the lead lap, just though. You can see right in his rear view, of course, the prior mentioned Tanner Marty there, and that's Kendall Leveron. So they are fighting for their lead lap status, but let's be real, it's going to last about maybe 50 seconds at tops before Seminario swallows them up. So Ty Ippolito not that far ahead of this. He's 24 seconds behind, so with lap times about 30 seconds, 12 more laps. Strong possibility. We only have 7 on the lead lap coming to the stage here, but let's hope that nothing happens in front of the leader to really throw this race upside down.
Yeah, you definitely don't want anything to happen now, but man, oh man, that gaggle of cars. 3 drivers battling for position in front of our leader. He's got nowhere to go. One of them's entering the corner down on the apron. That's a scary sight to see, but the 56 works his way through. Now he's just got to deal with the number 4, and I believe that is the 20...
That's Leveron, the 28.
28, so... Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
not particularly, but I can fill in a thought if it does.
I thought I cut you off there, but yeah, the 56, very lucky. If you see a driver entering that low into one, it's very rare that they keep it that low. Generally, the laws of momentum would say they're going to fly up into the outside wall, and luckily, well, the 55 did stay down low.
What does beat me mean?
Is it a Pokemon? Oh, beaten you.
Beaten you. Like I'm faster than you and I will surpass you. Ah, okay. Clever.
We got it. It's not a Pokemon.
Like beaten you? Like...
Man, oh man, the 56, he's probably... I find that amusing. This is a throwback to Truex. And Truex, I've always, the first thing I think about when it comes to Truex is his tendency to scream on the radio about lap traffic. Get him out of the way! He's just always on there about lap traffic, telling his spotters to run over and tell people to move. He hates being in traffic, I think, more than anybody in the grid. And so, kind of ironic, we got the 56 Martin Truex throwback, and he's stuck in traffic. If this was actually Martin Truex, he might have put the bumper to that 4 already, but Seminario maybe being a little bit more patient than the
secondary thoughts here. Is he being nice to the league admin and trying to keep him on the lead lap because he has a 6-second lead and no reason to pass him?
It could be. It could be like, hey, I'm going to let you stay on the lead lap, and then if I cause an infraction later on in the year, maybe just look the other way. But
is that legal?
Yeah, he's running a Dodge front end, which I find it's probably legal, but it shouldn't be because he's got a Ford rear end and a Dodge front end. And I'm concerned.
A Forge or a Dord?
The worst.
Oh, into the fence!
Oh, no. The Dord is in the outside wall.
A Dord.
Oh, man. So that's going to be one of the reasons that you don't want to be in lap traffic. The car's going to get a little bit aero tight, and as the tires wear down a little bit more, that aero push is going to grow.
Fun facts. Even though he was in the wall, he was still 2/10 faster than Levine last time.
Yeah, that's how fast he's been tonight. It's absurd. And he is going to come down pit road. So I think the majority of the field
coming in as well. So
yeah, the majority is probably going to come down, and that means they will not be pitting under the stage.
Or do you take a splash here and then just take the tires on the stage and preserve that 5 laps?
I don't know if taking a splash is worth it, because here's the thing: if you take a splash,
well, let's just gauge Swan. 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's true. But that's a risk because some of these drivers may not come down pit road at all, especially some of the drivers that have been saving. So you may not really salvage as many stage points as you thought. We'll see. The 56 into his stall. Don't overshoot it. Very conservative entry.
Jack up.
I don't think he walked that thing up at all, but it is going to be right side tires at least. Does the left side jack go up?
Yep.
Yes, it does. So 4 tires and fuel. He'll be staying out on this stage, which he's playing the long game. He's giving up the stage points here, but starting up front means that he's essentially going to be able to drive away with it, just like he has been. A few more takers down pit road, the 55 and 64. These two drivers, I don't think, have gotten away from each other all night. I think there might be a tow hitch on that 55 pulling the 64 with as close as they've been. The number 1, Levine, he was our race leader provisionally, down into the pits, and behind him
Saucier saw life flash before his eyes.
Yeah, Saucier was about to give those sand barrels a test, but this is why you don't necessarily want to get down on the apron too soon, because it's kind of just nothing but sand and marbles down there, and you try to get woed up and you're at a bad angle, angled out towards them barrels, you might be having a meet and greet with them. But Timothy Latham, provisional race leader, is he going to try to go all the way, Corey? Is he going to try to get some stage points? Let's see what he does through 3 and 4. I'd say if he stays out this time, he's trying it.
I think he can, because the farthest we saw is 37. Now, mind you, he's going to have to do really 38 and a half. I mean, by the time you catch the pace car and the pit's open. But you can do that, clutching it. So, he has the win. He's, in good position. He's
the cucumber win.
Yeah, I mean, he has 1 point asterisk wins. He's in good position. He's on a hot streak. He has the momentum. Why not go and try to get yourself the additional point of however it helps you?
Oh yeah, definitely want to get those stage points. They're valuable all season long, and I don't think he's going to have to lose that much track position when he does pit, because remember, some of these drivers are going a lap down from pitting. Healy is probably going to finish a lap down, which means worst case scenario, number 5 comes down pit road after winning the stage, restarts 10th. That's not that far down the grid. That's only row 5.
And he'll have better tires than everybody else.
Exactly. He'll have better tires, a little bit more weight on the rear end with the full fuel tank, and it could be pretty good.
Yeah, so this is the white flag for the stage. Leveron in second, 8 seconds back. Ippolito. This is actually inadvertently getting some guys back onto the lead lap as well, just due to the sequencing and timing of sorts. So, very least, Latham's going to come off of turn number 4 and grab himself a stage. The only thing is we're going to have to wait for the 10th place guy to cross the line, and that is Heath Snyder. And again, this is all just extra laps that it's going to force Latham to run, whether he has the fuel to run it or not. Where is Heath Snyder? Snyder coming through 3 and 4. Oh, there it is. Caution has finally waved.
Oh, no.
What in the world?
Latham in the 24, hard into the out.
Well, that strategy just absolutely just fell flat on its face.
Oh my goodness, this was shaping up to be such a good run for him. Was he out? Oh my gosh, so the 24.
Was that with Scott Healy? We got one more look at it.
Looks like he got into the outside wall, and from there he just slid down across the nose of the 5. And the 5 was checking up, and if he hadn't been checking up, oh, it wasn't the wall, it was the 64 that gave him a shove.
Okay, so what happened was Latham, he was either out of fuel. Oh, he was clutching it because the caution was already waved. So he could see
he expected everybody behind him to woe it up for the caution as well.
You can see the dash there, 2000. He was clutching it. And everybody else either didn't get the memo that the caution was already out or just wasn't paying full mind. I'm not quite sure which end of it, but...
Yeah, Latham wasn't doing anything wrong there. I mean, caution was out.
He needed to save fuel.
He was blowing it up like he should have.
Well, he needed to slow down, and he was slowing down maybe a little more than necessary to save fuel. But either way, the caution was already out.
Yeah, there was no reason for those 2 drivers to be coming through that corner wide open. I mean, you're not going to gain any positions once the yellow flies. It's set in stone at that point till the green flag comes back out. So that was just unnecessary. And now the number 5 has a ton of front end damage that we can't really see visually, but with a hit like that, I am assuming the radiator shot, we see some right side passenger door damage down by the exhaust. I would assume some alignment issues. Usually if you get damage in that area, you're going to have some alignment problems. So just a great night went sour for that 5.
Yeah, hashtag tank mode, unfortunately not going to give him the benefit there. But, I mean, he got the stage for what it's worth. And that will definitely wind us up here and kind of throw a wrench into everything. Everybody, so Johan did stay out. So worth noting that Johan Seminario did stay out, as well as Dakota Jorgensen, Levron, Gunningsman, Latham. I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, he's still on the top 5. Levine, Gage Swan, remember, he pit before the stage. But interestingly enough, in the pits, and he has an extended pit stop here, so 38 seconds, so would that have been like a fuel stop with a speeding penalty, perhaps?
It could have been a speeding penalty. He may have been getting some damage fixed as well.
Plausible, yeah.
I know he did get into the outside wall a time or 2, but for some reason, high 30s does sound like a penalty to me.
Yeah, I think it's about 35 seconds here. But what we're going to do here, because this has been a very long green flag run, we're just going to step aside, and we'll be right back with you for the restart here. So please stay with us here on PTRTV. And after a very chaotic, not even a stage, after a chaotic caution sequence there, getting bet ready for the restart here of stage number 2 here. SSRL race number 9 here at the Darlington Raceway. Throwback to 50. Kendall Leveron has shooken out to be our leader here. Interestingly enough, he's going to get on that gas pedal, get the lead. Outside lane, Chad Gunningsman didn't get going. Latham, after he just got involved in that wreck, we'll see what that 5 is made of, as he is now in second.
Yeah, I'm going to make the bet that number 5 is going to be a little bit off pace from that damage, but you never know. Sometimes, man, the iRacing gods just smile upon you and you take a hit like that and the car is, well, it's fine. So, you know, hopefully for his sake, the car is halfway. He's with a 29, big moment for the 29. He got a little loose there, as we're going to single file out front and just some 2 wide out back. But I don't know, that 5 is kind of keeping pace with at least Levine as well. Dave Feud Jr., the bumper shoots back up into the track. That's a debris caution.
Yeah, that, I think he was going after the Richard Petty 1970 wreck there. Watch it on YouTube if you're too old, if you're too young for it. But that will, yeah, that left front has seen better days.
Yeah, that was a whale of a hit. I mean, just full speed. I'm not even sure he lifted before he hit that wall. He was trying to save that thing the whole time. We'll take a look at the PTRTV instant replay. On board with the number 4, Dave Fuchs Jr. He's got that 17 Matt Kenza throwback in front of him. Now, what went awry out of 4? Well, it was the safer barrier sneaking up on him.
And I wish they still had contact physics there on parts, because someone would have gotten annihilated. Not that I want to see someone get annihilated, just for the sake of realism there, but...
yeah, if that was Thunder 2004 and 3, that would have been like 3 cars with flat tires right there.
Yeah, he just flat missed the corner, but... He did, that thing just darted. That was like a cross between Steve Park 2002? 1? And then the... Richard Petty just dart to the inside wall, 1970, where everyone literally thought he died, because his arm was like flailing out the window, and that was the wreck that actually instituted window nets into fruition. And we have been confirmed in our YouTube chat that we are saying Johann's name correctly. So just as I say, we're saying it correctly. I repeat it back incorrectly. But yes, we have done a good job for once in our life.
That's good to know. That's probably the only thing I've done right in my 25 years on this planet. But Gunningsman currently sitting in the provisional lead, 17 right behind him. And I noticed a few cars on pit road.
Yeah, Latham coming down, came down, as well as Leveron, Levine, Johan Seminario, Gage, Dakota, and Scott Healy. Now, one thing we haven't been doing very well tonight is keeping track of tires, as we did last week, but it was about a 5-second pit stop for each of those guys. So basically just topping off with fuel. But one thing I want to do is I want to go and, I think he still has the promo code, so we'll talk to Captain Promo Code here. Everybody's a captain here in these broadcasts. And Timothy, Corey, and Andre up in the booth, you got us?
Yes, sir.
So you did the fuel strat, you got yourself a stage win, and then you got decimated there under yellow. So first off, how is that Raise Energy throwback running? Is the damage overpowering, or you think you're still in it?
I mean, it feels okay for now. We only ran like 3/4 of a lap before we got the caution, so I couldn't tell you how it's going to do over the long run here. But I only have 50 seconds of damage. I got about 15 of it fixed there under the last 2 pit stops, so hopefully we can stay in it. And I think we got another fuel strategy brewing here with that pit stop everyone just did.
Yeah, and just before that, I mean, the first stage completely clean and green. Everybody completely spread out. What kind of feedback did you kind of figure out with the car? And it seems like Johann's in a mind of his own here tonight. But where do you think that 5 rounds out in the grand scheme of things?
It felt good at the beginning of the first run because I did kind of run it hard to see where the car was, and I was keeping pace with him and Levine there. So I have confidence that the car is good. I don't know about the damage. We'll see how that is, but I feel like we got a good enough car to stay up here.
All right, man. We'll let you get back. You're on a hot streak lately, so we'll see if you can continue, man. Get back at it.
All right. Thank you.
You know, Timothy, I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that he has had a lot of bad luck at the very end of these races. He's been doing really well, looking like he's going to get another win, and then something goes sideways. Well, tonight, the difference is that the bad luck struck before the halfway mark.
Correlation. He's running a 5-car. Who has that been happening to lately?
Well, Kyle Larson, true. But you know, the difference here is that his bad luck struck early, so he's got enough time to maybe make up for it. That could be a huge factor here.
Yeah, and he also hasn't gotten wrecked for the lead in like the last 5 laps by the same driver. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But you know, luckily we don't have a Chastain in this league. We do have Chastains in other leagues that we cover, but not so much here in SSRL, which is a good thing for all behalves. But let's go and take this restart, and you know, we're going to do something that's very cursed here on the channel. We're going to do temporarily loud engines. The curse of temporarily loud engines strikes again. Scott Healy in the 64 getting the short end of the stick on that, so let's go and cue the replay and see what happened. And there were quite a few involved in this one.
Yeah, a couple drivers tagged him again. The outside safer barrier.
Look at them squeezing the donut there. Squeezing the donut.
A few drivers squeezing through. Unfortunately, the 23, not one of them.
I don't know why I just said squeezing the donuts, as that would, but we'll go.
See, that just sounds sticky, and I don't like that.
Yeah, he was in defense there. Gage Swan, short end of the stick there, the donut stick. And
we got to stop with that.
Boyles there. Captain, is this the first time we've mentioned Justin Boyles in this race other than the starting grid? He got a little bit of contact.
It is a little bit surprising that we have not mentioned Captain Bump Draft Safer Barrier Spinsworth Moneybags the third.
I cannot believe you remember that all 2 weeks later.
Neither can I, because I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but I guess a name like that sticks out.
Yeah, it's a quiet run there, and what I believe to be the Jimmy Spencer throwback, but I'll have to cue the specifics on that.
I believe you're right.
Nope, Hut Strickland. I have been corrected.
Okay, Hut Strickland.
I only remember Hut Strickland as Circuit City. That's anything before that is beyond my time.
Yeah, that Circuit City car was pretty iconic. It was a pretty nice looking paint scheme, quite frankly. But yeah, these guys are really struggling to get green again. And I think the thing is, if we can get green and they can get single file, we're going to see another long run like we had. But the thing is, we're into the final stage. Everybody knows how important track position is, so they're being really aggressive, and they're just not letting themselves get to that point where things simmer down. They're just caution after caution, which is making things harder ultimately. Now, Darrell Waltrip, in his, how old is Darrell Waltrip now? 87?
87? No, he's like 74, 75.
I thought he was in his 80s.
No, he was born 1947, I want to say.
Okay, so in his 70-some-odd years of wisdom, coming down pit road again here on lap 91. Latham's so lucky to squeeze through that incident, but let's see. Did the jack stands go up on the 19? Are we seeing any tire strategy, or is it just...
He has overshot his pit... I thought he overshot his stall, but I also had to train myself that the pit lines are not accurate necessarily. 4.5 seconds. So that's
consider this. He did overshoot it, but he didn't want to look like a fool, so he sat there and pretended that he was being serviced and then drove away.
I mean, I wouldn't say I haven't done it before. I mean, there's been times I realized I wasn't going to make my stall, so instead of looking like an idiot and trying to make it and then backing up, I just said I'm not going to make it and just drove right through the pits and just probably confused everybody else that was watching. All right,
97.
Well, we have some time, and pick your poison, Andre. Anybody that speaks to you, both literally and metaphorically, that you want to grab?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's pull up Seminario, see what he's got to say. He's kind of marred back in traffic. He's got the fastest car. See what he thinks about getting back up front.
Asterisk, do you want to pick somebody who's available to talk to?
Okay, so he's not in Discord. Let's bring up...
Oh, we're on one to go. Never mind.
Never mind.
So that will have to wait, because we don't have a live SRX green flag in race reporter here, so this would not be the track to try it on. I was very impressed with that. Tony Stewart was able to do that. Like, I think it was actually at one of the most difficult tracks. It was like the I don't remember where it was, but it's like the last Slinger maybe. We tracked like 13-second lap times, quarter mile, 30 degrees of banking, and he's just like nonchalantly just talking like, yeah, it's tight, but I'm trying to pass. And I could never do that, let alone virtually, never mind in real life.
Yeah, that is not easy to do. Back in the days of NASCAR Heat, one of the leagues I was in desperately wanted a broadcast, but everybody was racing, including myself. So I basically did a broadcast while driving, and that was not fun. I'll never do that again. But they paid me for it, so money is money. But here we go, off of turn 4 again. We're going to try to get green and hopefully stay green, as the 97 of Gunningsman is going to lead us to the stripe. He's got Levine on his outside. So far, the outside seems to be the place to be, so Levine may have a bit of an advantage. He gets a good start here. He's staying nose to nose with our leader, not conceding the position. 28 getting a little bit sideways, but the run that the number 1 is going to get. Can he get clear? Yes, he does. The 97 backs it up with the bumper of the 28. We are bouncing off one another, but no caution yet. No big incidents. Timothy Latham now trying to take a podium position. He said he thinks the car is good enough to stay in it. Well, look at that. A pass for third tells me, yeah, that car's feeling pretty good despite that hit. So very lucky. With a hit like that, that car could have been DOA, but here he is making a pass for second. 2 cars in 1 lap, Corey.
Yeah, and I do have some live information here from a driver who was out of the race, Kenny Reel in 24. He said he slowed up for the caution because it got thrown, and the 64, this is all quoting exactly, the 64 just smoked me and caused him to hit Latham. So blame has been relinquished in placed seemingly on the 64 there, at least by at least one of the drivers involved.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of what we saw. They were both racing coming out of the corner. The 24 kind of lifted, and then, well, the 64 did not. So, Timothy Latham, if he can get around Levine, and his car seems good enough that he might be able to, that clean air might be enough to fend off that 56. We've seen how difficult it is to pass. And the 56 himself, he's not going to be getting up front at least for a few laps. With this gaggle of cars in front of him, he's got the 29 side by side with 17.
He has to worry about not having some contact here, not being in a kerfuffle of sorts.
And remember what happened last time he was in a gaggle like this. He actually had a little bit of near contact. 29 gets loose, 17 makes the move on the high side. That opens the door as the 7's going to lift and allow him to pass. But he's not in the clear yet, not by any means. Coming out of turn 4 on the bumper of the 29, and he's going to look low. So we're going to be going into turn 1 side by side, ladies and gentlemen.
Etiquette, question mark? Nope.
No etiquette there. There's a little bit of contact.
Yeah, but he gets by.
So that is 1 car checked off the list and another lap that he has survived.
And that doored Moo Charger as a caution.
Oh, yellow flag.
Corey sauce here.
Oh.
Some bullseye sauce. Oh.
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry, bro. We saw that.
So he committed attempted manslaughter on the barrels.
Oh, Captain Bump Draft involved here.
So he's on the outside of Captain Bump Draft, Moneybag Safer Barrier. Spins worth a third. and just a little
Let's
bit of
go
contact
to
is
our
going to send them.
backstretch cam here. I believe this will kind of right in the middle. Richard Petty-esque move. And
It
then,
was 700 fence posts between his car and mine.
and then here comes
and
the
they met in the
Manamana. Manamana.
Now, in his defense, that right front is pretty jacked up. That may have been a result of the
Jacked up. Are we allowed to
damage.
say that in this new world? Both
why
steroids or you know, triple X.
I mean, I've never had anybody have a problem with it.
It's 2023.
I mean, yeah, somebody somewhere has a problem with everything I say. So
Yeah, well, we haven't got fired yet, so it's not 11 o'clock Eastern time, so we do have to remain at least in normal profession here, of which our poll has already closed, so I will not spoil the results, but our throwback poll has concluded itself, and I know the results, but it is not for me to disclose them, as our league admin will actually come in post-race and let the driver know who did win. I can say that 384 votes were placed, so that poll actually got quite a bit of attention here, and the winner will... I don't know.
How many votes?
384 votes.
Oh man, I owe you $10.
Oh yeah, we had a plus or minus on how many we thought we were gonna get.
That
Man.
I mean, to be fair, we were both way off.
Yeah, well, the
you
thing
were
is,
off by. I'm gonna say you were off by about 300.
well, the thing is when there's drivers involved who can win money, they will make sure that spreads like wildfire. And I know they will probably log in from every single device: mom's computer, dad's iPad, little Charlie's Fire tablet. They will find a way to make sure that they win. But definitely some good attention there, and it looks like the results were pretty close? Question mark? Close enough to be interesting. But we'll take let League Admin disclose that in whenever this race ends, which green flag estimate is about 43 minutes. And it's amazing because it's first stage completely clean, but attrition definitely has reared its ugly head here. So we have going from bottom to top here: JD Baker, Brian Mabry, Josh Campbell, Devin Medeiros, Kenny Reel, and Scott Healy all have taken it up, in maybe they're prepping for next week's race at Nashville, I believe I said it was.
And Nashville Super Speedway, so the concrete surface, I believe. Nashville's concrete, right?
Yep, 1 1/3 miles, concrete D-shaped oval there. It's called the Super Speedway, even though it does not fit the criteria for a Super Speedway. They just needed some significant differentiation from the fairground, so they just did not fit the mold with their naming choice, but to each its own. That's what it is.
And I'm still a little bit confused as to the Super Speedway status of Darlington, because when I was growing up, it was always a super speedway. That's what people said, and now it's not. I don't think so. That's a bit baffling.
I think the literal definition, which is not Merriam-Webster, it's just kind of what they define it. They just go with is I think 2 miles and up. But I don't consider Fontana a super speedway, which, well, I consider it a nothing now because it's not getting rebuilt. Let's just be honest. Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't call it a super speedway, but it has enough banking. Pocono certainly isn't a super speedway, but it's big and it is fast, but it's not a super speedway. So NASCAR debates, hashtag NASCAR debates, say it in the right order there. But Levine and Latham front row here. Lap 101. Barney has the green flag in hand. See the field thinning out here. Lady in Black is definitely taking these guys and giving them all they can handle here as the green flag's out and we fire off into turn 1.
And the number 56 finds himself behind a few of the cars that he just worked so hard to pass. So he's going to have to try it again. Go back, Jack, do it again, down to bottom. Sorry, my buddy is, he's only like 20, but he acts like a 9-year-old's favorite band, Steely Dan, so now that's in my head. he's going to make a pass pretty easy on the 97, but I'm not sure that spam machine is going to make it so easy. Nor will the 29. We've seen the aggression out of both those drivers tonight, so that's going to hold up the 56 long enough that Levine and Latham can start to get out in clean air. Third place, Levron not quite keeping pace. He's letting him sneak away just a little bit. But the 29 is closing in. Snyder is on the bumper of the 28, and he wasn't about a lap ago, so that tells me he's going a little bit quicker, and he may have a podium car here. But for the lead, Timothy Latham dives down low on the number 1. He's going to get clear before corner entry. I think that was Levine being a little bit courteous, letting off the loud pedal a little bit early. So from the lead to the inside wall, back to the lead, it is Timothy Latham on the comeback in that Raise Energy Jeff Bodine throwback. And now, his biggest worry on him got to be that 56.
Oh, is the promo code still the same here in Throwback World? No, you're too far away, Justin.
It might be smaller, and I didn't think that was possible.
Oh, he's diving it in. He needs that promo code. Oh, don't hit the wall. You're not going to see it that way. Oh, he's going to get a good run here. Now he's going to get that promo code. No, that font. That color.
I'm telling you, it's smaller. It's smaller and harder to read because the color.
And it's lower resolution. There it is. Now he got it. So he really got that promo code, and he's going to try to shake the can because he doesn't like that promo code. Maybe it didn't work. Maybe it expired.
I respect it. That was a bold attempt at a side draft, but he thought better of it. I think he knew where that was going. So he's just taken a wildly different line through 1, and it's given him these huge runs down the back straightaway.
Draft getting squirrely back there. But
bump draft getting a little bit out of shape. But yeah, it's the difference in lines here. It's making it interesting.
Well, it's just kind of the nature of Darlington is, it's just, it's a very aero-sensitive track, but unlike a Kansas or a Charlotte or Atlanta, you can't evade it here. There's very, very little deviance you can do to get some clean air on the nose. So if that means just trying to pinch it down a little bit, or just trying to skew it off, that's what you got to do here. Here comes Johan getting by Kendall Levron here. I think he was 7th. Oh, he's going to give him a little door slam there, center of the corner. Doesn't cause Levron to budge. But Levron, he is going to hold his ground, and let's see what kind of etiquette, if any, applies in turn 1.
I'll tell you exactly what's going through the 56's mind right now. He's thinking to himself, you know what, the longer I stay in traffic, the more likely it is that something happens. So I got to get aggressive. I got to get around these guys. But, not clear. Spotter, you were not clear. 29 being very courteous, and they were lucky that nothing happened there between them, because that could have been disaster. But man, that spotter needs to, I need new glasses, and that spotter needs very new glasses. Looking back towards the 56, just frantically trying to work his way through traffic. And I tell you what I think's going on here, Corey. I think he's got a car that is built for the clean air. That thing, when you get it out front, it is a rocket ship, but the cost of that is that once you get it in traffic, it might actually be subpar.
So what you're saying is the fact that it's adored and it doesn't have its identity is it doesn't know what it wants to be good at.
That could be. No, generally when you build a car for clean air, the car is going to be a little bit tight because, you're out front, you don't have the aero push. You can afford the car to be a little bit more stable, and that may be what he has. The problem with that added stability is that it turns into tight off when you're in traffic. That aero push just takes the rotation out of the car. Getting through the center is a nightmare, and it looks like that's what the 56 is dealing with. He's still faster than some of these guys, but the ability to maneuver the car around the track and switch up his lanes just isn't there. Another close call.
Yeah, so basically what you do is, in all sincerity, you dial the downforce out of the car, so that way you're more trimmed out to run by yourself. But when you're in traffic and the downforce is reduced, you already dialed the downforce out in the garage, and now you even have less on your nose with the dirty air, so you really don't have any mechanical grip as well as aero grip, which means you're basically just toast. Now even Gage Swan taking stabs here at the 2. Well, at the 56 rather.
Yeah, Gage, another driver who's just been in traffic all night long. I think he's getting pretty used to watching drivers battle out of his windshield, just waiting to see what happens. And he's been fast all night. I don't think he's got necessarily the fastest car on the track, but sometimes consistency is what matters, especially when a race has been as crazy as this one. Another attempted overtake by the 56. He gets nose to nose, drops back in the center of the corner, but can he get a run on exit? does get a pretty solid run. He's going to be nose to nose. And is anybody going to give? You got 3 cars on the outside. The outside lane cannot give. If somebody gives, it's going to be a domino effect. So no, 28 doesn't lift. He stays on it, and he's going to get back into the position. The 56 is probably smacking his steering wheel right now, thinking, man, that strategy is not working out right now.
He's like, I just need a square button right now. But if anybody is going to react well to that, I mean, I don't know. These guys are pretty solid. They don't seem to get mentally taxed here. They, you know, if you can handle the fastest guy in the field, just absolutely just mutilating your rear bumper here. Dave Fuge exiting the pits 28 laps down after he obliterated, if such a word does not exist, the turn 2 wall there, but back on track. They got the front clip back on the car. And look at SimRacing out there. He's just absolutely just using up the rear bumper, but in doing so, opens the door for Gage Swan.
Yeah, Gage is almost going to make the move, but Highline does prevail for the 56. So not going anywhere fast is the story right now for the 56. Seminario was the fastest car on the track, now just stuck in traffic. Meanwhile,
sloshing some fuel in the tank there. He's swerving.
Could be, but right now, Latham's not getting up to that big of a lead. He's got about 4/10 over Levine.
And
then Justin Boyle's another 3/10 behind second. And then that's when you get this gaggle of cars right here again.
Is Leveron going to pit? I think he's got him this time. But crossover?
Oh, on the bumper, he's going to get him loose, and here comes Gage.
Yeah, let's see if this is the harder pass to make, and almost door tapped him there. He managed to keep it in his lane there, but he's going to be pinched on corner exit, have a little wiggle, have a little woggle there, and that's going to be all Leveron needs to retain that 5th position, and he will fall back in line. But finally, after all that battling, Johan's going to take sole possession of 4th, but now he's going to have 2 seconds. Basically a whole back straightaway to get to Justin Boyles there. And if there's one person on track that is not an easy pass, Boyles is going to be right in that category as well. But look at him trying to take the position away from Justin Levine here, which 2nd position here. Timothy Latham with the damaged car pulling away by a half second. Justin Levine, who's kind of had just an average day, running in 2nd, and then Captain Bump Draft out of nowhere, trying to pull himself right in the mix there with his teammate.
Yeah, we were talking about how we haven't really mentioned Justin Boyles tonight, which is unusual, and then all of a sudden he seems to have picked up some pace here. He's running on the podium and putting up lap times competitive with the leader, but there's Johan a little bit further back, and now they say this every week on the Fox broadcast, but cue the Jaws music, because he is going to start closing in 29.4 for Seminario, and 29.6 for Justin Boyles. So
watch that gap go down right in the middle there.
He is going to close in. So it's about a second going into the corner.
It was 2 seconds a lap ago, but you can see Boyles just absolutely just dropped back into oblivion there. So obviously something happened. Lap timer will update there, 30.5. So maybe
there's another 10th right there going into the corner. Very good entry.
Yeah, maybe that Dr. Feelgoods, maybe they're only Dr. Feel OKs right now, or maybe they're Dr. Feel Bads, perhaps, for Boyles here right now. I think he may have pushed a little bit too hard. But we're 20 laps in, so pit stops 15 or so laps, 135. That puts us 50 to the end, so we're looking at 2 stops to the end. So if you have that green flag vibe out of this, perhaps start time to thinking about your end of race calls here, as we're side by side for 5th place.
It is never too early to start thinking about your strategy. The number 2 getting a little bit sideways off the corner as he is battling with that number 28 of Leveron. Still going to be side by side. Did not get clear. Out of the corner, who gets the advantage? A little bit sideways again. Both these drivers getting loose and making mistakes. It's preventing either one from gaining an advantage. And meanwhile, you've got the 29 of Snyder. He's just watching these two go at it, thinking, okay, this has got to end sometime. And when it does, maybe that's when I'll pounce. But there we go. Clear. Clear. Gage Swan into the wall, and now the 29 spins. He checked up for that incident. He instinctively lifted off the throttle, and that got him spun.
Yeah, let's go cue the replay here. We kind of caught most of that live. Let's see what the long shot has to say. Into the wall, we're all good. When 7-Eleven turns around Dale, oh, sorry, Kevin there. We'll go from a, what number is 7-Eleven?
7.
There's no 7 car. Oh, it's Baker.
Yeah.
What number did I say? Did I say what number is 7? I think that's what. Okay.
You said what number is 7-Eleven?
Oh, okay. On board with the wrong car here. All right. Absolute rookie here with replays here. I do apologize. All right, so this is Jason Baker. Into the wall. Now, what caused him? It seemed like he got pushed, which caused him to get into the rear quarter panel there. So we'll get one more look at that from the top-down cam. Oh, there's Tanner Marty. Perhaps he is a criminal in this as well.
Yeah, I think the 29 just saw everything happening in front of him. He lifted just a little bit, and the 7 did not see that coming. Jason Baker just didn't plan on anybody lifting, so he made a little bit of contact, and there was just so many cars that he couldn't avoid it.
But Tanner Marty stayed on track when everybody else, Levine will exit the pits first, Seminario third, Latham falls back to fourth, a slow 15-second stop for him. But it's going to be Marty and Ippolito staying on track here. 24 laps on the stint for Marty. Now, was he just trying to catch the pace car, give himself more time to work? It seems the answer to that question is yes. But I think now may be a good time to, you know, you didn't get your interview last time because the guy you picked wasn't here, but you have a backup?
Let's see. How about Gunningsman if he's in Discord? The 97.
The Flashpoint driver. Let's cue him up.
Chad Gunningsman, you got a copy?
I got you guys.
Well, Chad, you've had a pretty solid night so far. You've been up inside the top 10 and currently right now sitting 5th. Been a little bit chaotic in the last half of this race. The first stage was clean and green the whole way, and now things are starting to get a little bit crazier. How do you feel about your chances tonight? How's that 97 feeling?
Pretty good. I think it's a good long-run car. I think we didn't really control the first stage just with kind of that split strategy of, I think 5 or 6 of us only stopped once. So for me, I saved the strip. But I think it's a good car. I think if we get a couple of good long runs, should be a good finish. But I just struggle on these short runs with it firing off, and then some pretty aggressive so far, and just kind of lost track position.
Yeah, everybody's scrambling for track position. How's the dirty air out there? Is it worse when you're in traffic?
I don't think it's awful as long as you're not completely behind the car in front of you. If you can offset 2 or 3 feet, I don't really notice it too much. So I think it's just a matter of, they run a different line, and then, really it's pretty tough to pass here. It's really relying on that. You got a big enough run to clear somebody into 1 or 3, or that they roll over and give you a spot.
Yeah, kind of a waiting game, just trying to see if they make a mistake or give it to you if they think you're faster. But as we go with the lights off, just one last question. How confident are you in your pit strategy with these unexpected cautions?
Pretty good. I think we banked a set of tires that first stage with a few other cars, so we still got 2 in the pit box. So if we get in, we'll have enough for the 1 required green flag stop or caution stop, and we'll have 1 extra sitting around. All
right, you heard it here first. 2 in the box, but we're going to put you back with your team. Good luck, Chad.
Yep, thank you guys.
So 2 behind the wall still. That's actually probably pretty good, because I would wager to bet, Corey, there's probably a few drivers that have 1 set left.
Yeah, pit stop numbers here are completely off sequence just by the number of fuel-only stops and damage repairs, so we don't really have any good leads on what tires are left, so we just have to go on just pure instinct here, and Gunning's been really checking up here. I think the 17 had to get himself situated there. But either way, getting ready. It's going to be Levine on the front row. It's Seminario to the outside. And that is somebody pulling down all the way to the inside. That's Kyle Francis Lee Miller in the 17 pulling down there. But either way, Levine gets a good jump off into one. Very spread out. Seminario already 3/4 of a second back. But that pace, this is the cleanest air he's had since he's been in the lead, as I think Marty may have been in the wall back of the shop there.
Yeah, they definitely fanned out for a reason. Somebody scraped the wall. I'm not sure who it was. But Seminario, the closest to the front he's been since that strategy kind of pulled him back. And he's only got one car to pass Levine. Now, we saw Latham make the move on Levine earlier. He did it coming out of turn 4. He got side by side and carried that momentum all the way to turn 1 down on the low side. So we'll see if old Seminario can maybe duplicate that move. Maybe on the back straightaway he got kind of antsy there. He looked low, almost looked like he was going to try to do something. Now to the high side, going to build up some momentum, run a little bit higher. He's going to cut down here on the straightaway. Is it going to be a mirror image of the Latham move? No, he's not going to go for it yet, staying on the bumper. Behind him, you got Latham and Boyles just kind of paired together there, falling back just a little bit. But the 5 still keeping somewhat pace, 4/10 of a second back. And here we go down the back straightaway for the lead. Seminario is going to get side by side with the 1. The high line momentum is going to save him for now. But can Levine do anything down the straightaway? That's going to be the big question, because that high line's not quite as viable in 1 and 2. Generally, the driver on the bottom gets a good run, but he's unable to complete it. So some good defense from that number 1.
Yeah, the outside lane better in 3 and 4. That gets you the run down the front straightaway. But once you get through the initial entry of turn 1, I think the outside's actually where you want to be. It's just very awkward and scary being on the outside right at the initial entry, funneling in there into turn 1 and 2. But this has kind of squeezed everybody back under a blanket here. Latham and Boyles back to the party, making a 4-car battle for the lead. I do think that Levine is actually slowing all these guys up, but I think that's a good thing, because the longer Seminario stays in that dirty air, the worse he does get, and his advantage gets taken away on the long haul here. So I think Levine is using that knowledge and doing the best he can to hang on, because if he can hang on maybe 10 laps, I think he may have the confidence that he can hang on a lot longer.
And I think the urgency level is increasing for Johan, because he sees that 5 getting closer, he sees that 23 getting closer, and he knows that if he doesn't make this move to get into the lead now, he's going to be racing side by side for second. He's going to be battling some of the most aggressive drivers on the track, and that's not what he wants. That's not what his car is built for. So his best case scenario here is make the move on the 1, get in clean air, drive away. And if he doesn't, it could spell disaster for this run. And as the driver we were talking to, Chad Gunningsman, said, they got at least one more required pit stop. There's really not a chance of making it from where that caution was, even if you did take fuel. So, you kind of got to keep that in mind as well. You want to get out front, but that number 1, he's making that car wide.
Yeah, at this point in the race, I mean, you really don't need to, and I mean, obviously for, a Gunningsman with 2 sets on the wall, you definitely don't need to, but I really don't think for anybody you really need to save tires at this point. We're at 51 to go. You're going to come into the pits one more time. So it's really, I mean, in my best guess, it's probably, do you split it right down the middle, 25 and 25, or do you run it dry and take a chance on the caution game? Because, if you run it dry, that's 15 laps that you're going to lose, 2-3 seconds a lap to the guys who maybe do run it at halfway. So it's really kind of the risk reward as to the pit strategy, which affects how hard you can drive right now.
Yeah, it absolutely affects that, and you have to keep that in mind. Otherwise, you might just find yourself losing some track position very late into this event. I find it interesting, the 5 kind of closed in on the bumper of Johan, fell back a ways, and now he's closing in again. Almost looked like he overheated his tires getting up to him, and then had to back off, let him cool down, regroup, try again, because he is back on the rear bumper as he goes into the corner. Really good entries out of Latham. You see him close that gap quite a bit, and then from the center off, that's where Johan is pretty good, and he actually closes in on Levine. And I'm just noticing as well, is that 2 Truex throwbacks, 1 and 2? That number 1 was a Truex car, correct?
I'm gonna have to cue the old poll here, as it does give the DEI number 1.
So that is maybe Truex is just a good luck charm here.
I mean, I don't know if he ever won one here. I would imagine he would.
Yeah, he did. He's won Darlington.
Of course, make sure you do stay tuned post-race because we will have the winner of the throwback contest announced. So if you, the poll is closed, but hopefully you saw it in our YouTube chat where you could have gone and made the your vote here, as we had some very close wall issues here coming off 4. I've been waiting to do a through the field, but I just expect things to change here in this top 4 in the very near future. So we're just going to keep our eyes peeled towards it, not really missing anything. Closest battle on track is this little 5-car breakaway here. That's actually the Spam Mobile of Dakota Jorgensen. He'll get by Heath Snyder, who's not really having an impressive night for his standards there. And I want to call it the Dale Earnhardt Wrangler car, but I know it's a Kevin Harvick car.
So he is going to successfully make that move, which kind of slowed that group down a little bit more. It actually separated them from the leaders, but Latham into the wall, as well as Captain Bump Draft Safer Barrier Moneybags Spinwell the third. So he's a little bit damage on the right side now, but overall, neither driver losing too much time to Johan. Johan just struggling to get around the one, and it just goes to show. It's interesting because the 97 Gunningsman, he's like, yeah, dirty air is not that big of a deal. You just get your nose halfway out and you're good to go. Meanwhile, we've got the 56, who we know can be 0.3 of a second faster per lap than these guys, and he's just stuck.
Yeah, it's just making me feel like I'm actually right, Andre. Remember, if Johan couldn't get by on the fresh tires, it's just going to become increasingly hard to get by on the old tires. So I have to give myself a round of applause.
Yeah, I think we're both right. I think you're right about him needing to make...
Captain Bub Draft Spinworth Moneybags the third.
Captain Air, that was a strange-looking spin.
It wasn't even a spin. He's still kind of carrying on at a modest rate of speed here. Let's check out the old PTRTV replay. You can get a scope of his wheels, his hands, his farmer hands there.
Oh, overcorrection.
And yeah, he has some issues of sorts, but he will continue on as best he can. Dave Fuge there just putting along at his 28 laps down.
Yeah, at least he got him a new bumper, but here we go. Down pit road comes the 23. I think maybe the damage from that incident kind of forced his hand, made him come down a little bit early. And again, this really is open to strategy, because you could, right now, you can come down pit road, get yourself your fresh tires if you got any left, and make it to the end. Or you could just keep driving until about, 10, 15 laps before the end of the race and take your tires later and just try to stay out. So a lot of strategy with the way these cautions have played out.
Yes, indeed. Oh, into the fence is Levine, and he was riding the fence there, and he did it enough to preserve the lead. As long as the car drives well, I guess that actually worked out for him.
So there's the other Ross Chastain move, just riding the wall and keeping the momentum.
I think Sage Karam did that in the Xfinity qualifying, where he at least got the provisional pole for a little bit by hitting the fence and just flooring it, and the commentators were surprised at how well it actually lasted there. Looked like Johan was going to take a stab at it, and the entry of 3 had to avert that very quickly, and that briefly gave Latham a little bit of hope in a ray of sunshine there, but that sunshine quickly dissipated there, so fall back. You can see Leveron back there 2.5 seconds behind this battle. That has now been, shortened by the fact that Justin Boyles is in the pits and he is undergoing serious repair, and that's Gunningsman, who just absolutely had some interesting endeavors with the wall there off turn 2. And unfortunately for these guys, hashtag tank mode was disabled about a month ago, and they probably wish it was still active.
Yeah, well, they do and they don't. Having zero attrition tended to make the end of the race, where everybody was still alive, be a little bit more chaotic.
Oh my God! Look at his.
Oh, he's porpoising. Is that Lewis Hamilton?
I thought I saw his left front just absolutely bouncing. Yeah, that left front tire is not doing left front tire things.
No, that is 2022 Mercedes things.
And of course, there's no way for me to get a good look at it, just because life just happens to do that to us. But Captain Everything, whatever his name was.
Well, with the porpoising, I think now it would be Captain Bump Draft, Safer Barrier, Spinworth, Moneybags, Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Why did he just drive through the pits?
Yeah, was it a penalty?
Oh, yeah, drive through. Maybe he's at the incident cap, because I know that is a threshold penalty that you get. And just look at that left front. That is hysterical.
Yeah, that's not
I can't really see
working well for him. Up front, Levine still holding the 56 at bay. I don't know how he's done it as long as he has.
And Latham with that, you know, he had that stage, just for those who may have tuned in a little bit late, Timothy Latham there in that red and white 5 car. He won the stage. He was slowing up for the stage caution. There was clearly some miscommunication or just lackadaisical behavior there, because there was actually a wreck avoiding him while he was going slow under caution, which caused him to get some modest damage, and apparently has done nothing to hinder the performance of that 5 car, and finds himself right on the bumper of what we know to be the fastest car on the track, or so what we thought.
And Johan, just about a half a lap ago, did get into the outside wall. That put the 5 even closer to his bumper and allowed the number 1 a little bit of breathing room. He's able to kind of take a breath, just go through the corner and run his line without fear of the 56 stepping out, at least for a second. Speaking of the 56 stepping out, he's stepping out in the other sense.
Yeah, he's stepping out, but he's not on the beach. He's stepping out on the exit of these corners here, and just lost about 3-4 car lengths there. May have overheated the right rear tire, and once that right rear gets overheated, it doesn't go back typically here on the iRacing service. But 35 laps to go. The pit window is open. Whether anybody is going to go through the drive-through window and make that stop is a question of, you'll just have to wait to find out. Looks like Latham tapped the wall there off of turn number 2. Lost a little bit of what he gained, but now we're separated by about 4 or 5 tenths, and Levine, who I did not accredit 1% of chance for him winning this race, is increasingly raising his odds. So if you have a bet MGM race bet here on Justin Levine, you may be finding a pretty penny after tonight's race.
That could be, but I'm telling you, I'm not going to count out Johan yet, because as long as he stays within striking distance of Levine, he could turn this race around on pit road. He's had consistently some of the best pit stops out of anybody up front tonight. He has gained positions, I think, every single stop he's made. And he could do it again, but I don't know. Latham with the undercut. This is another move that may be pretty powerful. He's got Dave Fuge in front of him. Dave, again, 30-some-odd laps down, but Latham with the undercut. Does this force their hand? Are we going to see Levine and Johan? Johan goes down pit road, and it looks like Levine is going to stay on track unless he makes a very late entry. The 56 getting her woed up to pit road speed, and I think that's a good move. I think when he saw the number 5 come down, get that undercut, if he wants to keep that track position, he's got to come down as soon as possible. Now for Levine, is he banking on there being a late race yellow or what? Because that car's not looking very good. It seems like those tires are pretty worn, and yet he stayed out.
Yeah, I mean, you do want to be the chaser, the chasee, and you can see a much more aggressive pit entry there from him. He entered through the center of the corner rather than slowing down on the apron, entering 3. Does that offset some of the time he will lose using those aged tires for an extra 2 laps? Chad Gunningsman will take the short-term lead here as he tries to get by Kyle F.L. Miller, entering turn 1. A difficult day for Kyle, the newcomer to the series. Currently 13, 3 laps down, using the attrition to his benefit there. But there goes Levine just entering his pit stall. And Timothy Latham actually... Oh, this is the battle here. Can Latham surpass Seminario? Answer is yes. And look at the traffic commencing here. That's Gage Swan still yet to pit. Captain Spinworth, Bump Draft, Moneybags, something else, the 3rd there.
And Justin Boyles is a punching bag tonight. I mean, that's like the 3rd driver I've seen clear themselves off his hood.
Yeah, so just add that to the... I will make a graphic for that one day. You'll just have to make a list of every single name that we have created for him. That may be about 10 graphics long, but we will suture it together here. But Chad Gunningsman staying on track. He at least probably has 3 to 5 more laps in the bank. But let's go take a look at what may be the battle for the win. And they came out roughly, at least in the same intervals, although slightly altered by the fact that Johan is no longer in first, I mean rather in second, relegated back to third.
Yeah, that number 56, Napa Dord, not getting the good pit stop that I kind of expected him to have. He was very conservative, which I can respect. Look, we're late in the race. You can gain a lot on pit road, but you can lose even more. If you get a speeding penalty now, that might just be game over. So he knew he's got a good car. And
Delayed reaction there on the sound effect. I'm still running this soundboard.
So he thinks he can probably get it back on track.
Oh, into the fence there, Gunningsman. Just...
So I tell you what, tire wear must be a beast tonight, because you definitely see it. I mean, these drivers, they look so stable early on in the run, and then we get to this point, and they're just on ice skates.
Yes, they are, and not Stanley Cup ice skates. They are on Goodyears that have just been worn into oblivion here, and currently running about 1.7 seconds off of his best time right now is Gage Swan, who's currently on screen right now. Best time a 29 flat. Last time by a 30.7, so that is time he is losing to his counter. Whoa, that is a wrinkle in the strategy. Caution flag on the speedway.
Wow, that definitely helps Gunningsman.
And my overlays in my back-end data suggest that there may have been an issue with the 17, but I'm failing to see what happened to him, so we're just gonna unprofessionally scroll through this here aimlessly and trying to find out.
Kyle Miller coming out of the corner. Does he have issues?
Is this? Yeah, it just says Kyle Lee Friendly. You know, my basically what happens here. Nope, that wasn't him because the caution just came out there. But we'll go back to live footage because there's nothing that overly dictated what happened there for me. So I have back-end data, and it does give me little tidbits of information. Oh, that's actually saying perhaps Heath Snyder. No, that's not it. Jason Baker. Nope, they're pitting. I don't know why it's saying that they've crashed while they're pitting. Let's see, is it Heath Snyder here? This is the last one I'm going to search for. This is replay. No. So I'm just going to flat say it was debris. Someone threw a Gatorade bottle on the track. I don't have any back-end data to suggest what that was.
Yeah, that was me. I accidentally let the salt and vinegar chip bag get away from me.
Oh, did you fought your way into Hoots' command room there and just through the entertainment caution. So,
yeah, I mean, not intentionally. The bag just kind of blew out on the track. David Hoots, you know, thought maybe we needed a yellow.
Why are we? All right, so why is he stopped? Is he? Are we? So Levron is the leader right now. Because he did stay out, but now it looks as though he is planning to pit, which will give the lead to Chad Gunningsman. Kyle is still, well, he just deuced, bounced, pieced out, however you hip kids say it in this new world. So that will, all right, Gunningsman still being shown the leader. So what we do have to kind of just, you know, recalibrate here, because we had guys that already pitted, so they will have to inevitably take a wave around. But we also have guys that stayed on the lead lap and didn't pit, who just got to pit naturally. So that is actually Gunningsman, Levron, and Swan, I think. But why are they pitting again? I am so confused.
Yeah, I can't really
make
heads
This is live footage. I'm not stuck on
this.
replay mode. This is live footage that I have up here. So, Gunningsman the leader. There goes Levron. There goes Gage. Timothy Latham. He's in wave around territory, as is Johan, as is Levine, as is Jorgensen, Marty, Ippolito, and Snyder. So basically everybody who pit was a lap down. They are now in wave around territory. So they're going to have to restart this race with 8-lap older tires, and Gunningsman, Leveron, and Swan will all get to take this restart on brand new sticker tires. How much of that comes into fruition here? Because we don't, I mean, we know the speed on the 97 is actually pretty decent based on what he said. Leveron is no slouch. I don't think he's a I don't think he has a winning car, but he's no slouch. He's been playing some really good defense in this race. But does Latham, Seminario, Levine, do they have enough overall pace to offset 10-lap old tires?
I'll tell you what, it's going to come down to how quickly those drivers a little bit further back, like the 97 and the 28, how fast they can get through traffic. If they wind up suffering the same fate as Johan did earlier in the race, where they just get stuck behind a group of cars going 2-3 wide, and they can't go anywhere for several laps, I don't think they have time to get to them. We're going to be going green with about 20 laps to go. Yeah, the fresher tires, if they were in clean air, is going to be a big difference. But they need to make it fast. They got to get around that traffic as quick as humanly possible. Meanwhile, the drivers up front, well, let's see what they can do with the tires they got. So green flag in the air, pretty much a single file restart. We're going way back to Fuge. As Fuge is sideways, that's probably going to be a caution.
No, because he's by himself and there's no cars to pass him, so per the algorithm that will not trigger a yellow. And here we go for the lead. That is Kendall Leveron. This is same strategy tires. He's going to take the lead. Gunningsman's going to hit the fence there. Justin Boyle's not on the lead lap. He is 3 laps down after his damage, but he is still up here trying to get his lap back the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to get the lap back and maybe hope for another caution right as he gets around him. That would be best case scenario. But Leveron is still leading the way. Gunningsman second. Gage Swan with that lap car of Boyle's doing his best. And then you've got Timothy Latham. He led some laps earlier tonight, got himself a stage win. He's got the 56 breathing down his neck. We thought the 56 was the fastest car on track, and he just may be. Oh, man. Almost 3 wide going into the corner of the 5 car, trying to make the move on the number 2. That's just going to slow both of them down. The 56 up on the high line. He's going to get a big run here. Question is, where is he going to take this run? He's got Levine pushing him. 3 cars on the outside, bump drafting at Darlington. Gets the 2 sideways, but it's enough to keep him ahead and prevent Latham from getting clear, which I think is ultimately the 56's goal. Do not let that 5 get clear. We're still pushing and shoving for position.
Yeah, Latham was just trying his hardest to side draft Swan and absolutely treated Seminario like a door-to-door salesman and shut the door on him entering turn 1 there. Seminario not going to be too happy about that, but he's going to get a good run off of 2. Levine acting like a squirrel there. That going left to right there on the back straightaway. We'll hope all is well. Seminario saw a lane to the top of Latham there, and he squeezed it on in there, got the position, and gets himself in the ideal line, but who's going to back off entering 1? I'm going to guess nobody. And in the wall did not go Bush.
And Latham did give a little bit. I think he lifted to let the 56 get clear, because if he didn't, we might have had a disaster on our hands. The number 1 of Levine looks to the low side, thought about making a move, but then decided, yeah, maybe not now. Yeah, so he goes back single file. And the ultimate victor in all of this, as they're battling, is Gage Swan. He's been able to hold on to that podium position just by virtue of everybody behind him being more focused with each other than they are actually getting up front. Into the wall goes Latham. That allows Levine by, and Latham's gonna try to maybe make it a crossover. The spam car right behind the number 9 of Jorgensen. 55 as well. I believe he is. Oh, he is actually on the lead lap. So Tanner Marty coming back from a mistake
on the
earlier.
lead lap. He's been in everything under the. He's been basically hit everything except the jackpot here tonight, but still finds himself in the top 10.
Yeah, that's the beauty of having 18 cautions. You know, some of these drivers that had misfortune earlier in the race, they have been able to kind of overcome the issues. But 6 cautions, 18 was a bit of an exaggeration, 18 laps of caution, 5 leaders, 17 lead changes. So it's been an eventful night here at Darlington, and well, we've still got 16 laps to add on to those stats. We'll see what happens here as 56 closing in on that number 2 of Swan. And all of this going on has allowed Levron to extend his lead, something to the tune of about 0.8 of a second over Gunningsman. He's led 15 laps, and pretty much all of them have been in this run, save for a few. And he is in that clean air, and it's been so important, Corey. It seems like anytime anybody gets the lead, the car is just at its best, and it seems very difficult to dethrone them, especially when you got the situation playing out with the 56. Racing these guys hard, they're not focused on working together and being fast, they're just focused on passing each other for position, and that is helping the 28 big time.
Yep, and this is all, necessary for you Kendall Levron fans, because he only has a second overall between himself and Seminario. And every last bit of, slowing down that he can do to Gunningsman, and more particularly to the 56, that's going to enhance that gap and give Levron a little bit more breathing room here. But you can see Justin Levine there on the back of the shot here. So as Seminario is getting woed up between Swan and Gunningsman, that's going to allow both Levine and Latham to get back in and put Johan in a precarious situation there. Trying to get some fresh air on the nose of that car. Ran a little bit higher through 3 and 4 to no avail there. You can see Marty and Spam there. Dakota Jorgensen having a little battle there at the back end of the shot with the 1919 car of Ty Ippolito just in picture there, currently running in 9th. And there goes Saucier, slipping in it.
It's a nice save.
But he will continue on in the bullseye ride. 1 lap down in 12th is where he finds himself. But back to the action here as we close in on 10 fingers left to go, except 11 unless you're an oddity. I guess it'd be 11 fingers left to go, but closing in on the last few laps of tonight's efforts here. SSRL on PTRTV. Seminario looks like he grazed the fence there, but still he's about 0.8 back of Levron, but he still has 2 cars to pass and one hot on his mirror.
So he's closed in. It was about a second to the leader. Now it's 0.8, but he has not passed any of the cars in front of him, and he's got to make it happen. We're on 11 to go. It'll be 10 to go next time. That is not much time to make the move at all. If he wants any chance at winning, he's got to pretty much pass the 2 car this lap, pass the 97 the next lap, and then focus on our leader, because we've seen him run second and still not be able to get around the leader. It takes a while to work him over, apply the pressure, maybe try to get him a little bit aero loose going into the corner. It is not a simple task as they go too wide in front of him. That complicates matters, but it may just open the door to go up high.
Oh, Levine bump draft Swan there.
Yeah, you tried to
squeeze play into the fence. Very akin to Larson and Chastain there. And
and they're not done. They're not done. The 2-car big sideways. Does he come back up the track? No, he's down
off the race. No, here comes caution.
No.
Caution flag.
He was just that blip to the throttle.
Yep, he was just high enough. Now Darlington, just to get a little bit technical, the caution comes out when you spin on the racing surface and allow a car to pass you. Darlington only has about 3 lanes of racing surface, and he just clipped the very top of it. You can see there, and both on the wall there, tight confines off of 2. You can see he's in the bottom 3-4 lanes here, and just about there, I think the back straightaway they count 4 lanes of racetrack. And it was just enough here, and we'll have to go and sort out here back to live footage. Who has it set on the wall? Who doesn't? I see Johan staying out. If he doesn't have a set, he is toast.
Yeah, I think we know who didn't have a set now.
Levron staying out. Nope, Seminario staying out. The pit road radius here is kind of throwing off the live telemetry. But it looks as though it's Seminario and Marty. And perhaps Swan? Yep, Swan staying out. So top 3 staying out. Here comes Kendall Levron. Let's observe the jacks. May or may not be going up. There they go.
So they all had 2 at least.
And that's it. Wait, what? So when did they take lefts only? Or perhaps is that strategy because they just wanted to exit the pits first? So I can't imagine that they would have taken lefts only under a pit stop. So I think they were just doing that to try and keep the best track position, I would infer anyways. I don't think if we talk to a driver, they're going to give us a real answer at this point, so not really much of a reason to ask. But we'll have this restart with 11 drivers on the lead lap. Heath Snyder, I believe, is the free pass mobile. Currently 16 cars on track. Seminario being the leader on the old tires. Tanner Marty, older tires in second. Gage Swan, older tires, just involved in that caution in third. Then we have Kendall Everon in fourth. Chad Gunningsman in fifth. Dakota Jorgensen in sixth. Timothy Latham in seventh. Justin Levine in 8th, Ty Ippolito in 9th, and then Jason Baker coming into the pits a second time in 10th. 11th finds Heath Snyder, or close enough to it. Then we have Corey Saucier. He's had some issues tonight. Captain Bumdraft had some speed. Justin Boyles, he's had speed, but he has been on the fence in some incidents. Jordan Sailors, Kyle Francis Lee Miller, and Dave Fuge, the last running here, and who is 30 laps off the leader's pace.
Yeah, not a place you want to be, but, you know, when your front bumper slides up 6 lanes of traffic and you can still race after that, you know, I guess little victories in life.
Yeah, indeed. You know, they're not allowed in real life to actually put new parts onto the car, but perhaps one of the safety vehicles picked up the front clip and drove it to the pits and just said, hey, here you go, do with it as you may.
Just pulled a Dale Earnhardt, you know, just duct taping the bumper back on. And
200-mile-an-hour tape.
Yeah, it's safe.
Yeah, did they actually certify? I think I read that they actually certified the name 200-mile-an-hour tape solely because of NASCAR. They didn't actually test the car tape at 200 miles an hour prior to the marketing on it. So I thought I read something on that. Could be wrong, but you know, we got little pseudo, little tidbits.
I can't imagine any other circumstance where you would test tape at 200 miles an hour.
I mean, yeah, you wouldn't do it for NASA because you would need heat. I mean, I don't think duct tape is surviving atmospheric re-entry, but I mean, it's duct tape does it all, right?
Yeah, I mean,
duct tape. No, duct tape actually saved them on the moon landing as well because something like one of the switches broke when they were in the lunar module thingy, and they actually had to use duct tape to fix it in on the lunar car. So duct tape serves it all, as well as fixing vehicles. But it's gonna be 4 laps to go. Top 3 on old tires. 3 behind that, 4th through 6th, all on 2 tires. Timothy Latham, 4 fresh tires. So how fast will fresh tires work here at Darlington? Is 4 laps enough to show it into fruition? I guess we'll find out together. Pace car is in. Should be a very interesting restart here on the loud pedal of Seminario, and let's see how this shakes out.
So we know that clean air is very important, and we know that Seminario is fast, so with those 2 things in mind, you think he's going to drive away with it. But the thing is, there's some drivers behind him that took 2 tires, and they should, in theory, be faster. Now, big wiggle out of the 28, the 28 machine of
Levine, he's on 4 freshies.
And he's going for it. He knows he's only got 4 laps to do it. The spam car, Jorgensen into the wall.
It's not gonna work. They're not gaining enough time. Well, that'll help. It helps when you wreck.
They're still wrecking behind. They weren't done. It was the one involved.
Oh, Leveron. Well, more cautions. Levine's going to be in 3rd here, so that kind of makes it all but given there. But let's check out the replay. Everyone is just in the fence through 3 and 4 here, but need a different shot of that. There we go, that should do it. Yeah, he just turned him.
He did. There was some net code there, but I think there was going to be conflict either way.
Latham gets more insult to injury than that Ray's, I almost said Ray's Motorsport, Ray's Energy number 5 car. But this will put us into green-white checker territory. I don't think we've done that in all season, really.
It's been a while, and we do have 3 attempts for the viewers at home, so if they can't get it right in 3 attempts, then we're just going to call it, but hopefully they can get a good restart here. Again, the number 1 of Levine, he's on 4 fresh tires, whereas Swan and Seminario, well, they're on older tires, and they are not going to have the pace, but you only got to play defense for a couple laps, and we've seen crazier things in the past, so we don't want to say it's quite a done deal yet.
Yeah, Jorgensen too. I mean, he has really not been, he's been a non-factor entirely. He's been back end of the top 10. He finds himself on 2 fresh tires in the top 5. So, I mean, it all boils down to the restart, really. I mean, if Levine can stay within 2 car lengths or so of Seminario, I basically think it's over, because I do expect Swan to get a terrible restart just due to the fact he's on the outside. So if Levine can stay close, I think it's just, I mean, the writing's on the wall, but if it comes down to the white flag lap, maybe he can pull off, what was it, a Regan Smith here when he held off, I think it was Carl Edwards there at the very end. It could be possible.
It is pretty interesting how much this race has just turned itself around. At the start of the race, it seemed like, oh yeah, we pretty much know where everybody is in terms of pace, and it was very predictable for about 70 laps, and then stage 2 began, and now we're in a situation where, I mean, really, anybody in the top 5, maybe even the top 10, has a legitimate chance here on this green-white checkered, because we just don't know what's going to happen. We got old tires up front. We got fresh tires a little bit further back. We got some drivers in between on tires. We got drivers on 2. We got drivers on 4. And a very short amount of time to actually do any passing. So if anybody has any bets on this race, probably sitting on the edge of your seat, because could be anybody.
Yeah, it's just came to that. Yeah, it kind of went full hokey pokey, because this race, first stage, completely green. And I'm like, oh, wow, this race is going to be over in a flash. Everybody's doing good. And then it just completely turned around, and a bit of a cluster in the second stage leading into where we currently stand, heading now into overtime. And again, attrition has 6 of us out of the race, and 12 still on the lead lap with varying levels of damage and fresh tires. And Latham, I think he definitely hit last time, and you can see the front end damage there. Of course, he had the damage earlier, but now the front hood is crinkled up, which will certainly affect his aerodynamics. So thought he was going to recover for a chance at a win, but that was taken away. But Justin Levine up front all day. Gage Swan has had a good top 5 car all day. Hasn't had a winning car, but has had a top 5 car. The tires are much to his detriment here, but he may be able to stay into the top 10. And just looking through the rest of the top 10, Jason Baker, very quiet run for him. Remember, he won 2 races earlier in the season, already a group winner. Just not really shown too much here today. Heath Snyder, he's been in the wall. He's now in 11th. But most of these guys who have been up front, they've been there for quite some time. They have that experience. They know who they're racing. It's just going to be a matter of the tires, and are we done with the yellows?
Well, I guess we're going to find out if we're done with yellows. The lights are off on the pace car, so we'll be going into our first green-white checkered here and trying to figure out, well, who's going to have the pace, who's not. 2 Martin Truex Jr. throwbacks still kind of up front, first on row 1 and then on the inside of row 2. And we'll see, are they going to have the luck charm and win, or is it going to go how most of Martin Truex Jr.'s recent races go, where he's good all day and then just kind of falls flat on his face? Time will tell. Number 2 is Swan on the outside. You said you thought he was going to get a bad restart last time. Let's see if he gets a bad restart this time. Up on that outside, pace car down into pit road and sparing the sand barrels. He makes the turn successfully. Green flag in the flagman's hand, and we are set to go racing as a very jumbled up restart puts the 56 way out front. And look at this, Timothy Latham 3 wide into turn 1. What?
Yeah, that worked out as well as I expected it to, but Levine did get sole possession. A second, he puts himself in the fence there. Remember, he's on the fresh tires. You'd think he'd be on a mission, but that mission is not very much visible right now. There goes the 9 of Jorgensen underneath Swan here. Are we going to make it to the white? just hardly we will. Seminario up by 0.3 of a second. And surprisingly, those old tires are holding justice here.
I think that hit to the outside wall might have been all she wrote for Levine. Even if it didn't damage him, it held him up just long enough. The 56 doesn't have to hold him off very much. He's got to get through 3 and 4 now for the final time. The one making a charge on the bottom with the fresh tires, but he's just not close enough. Close but no cigar. Johan Seminario is going to win at Darlington for the throwback 200. Man, oh man, you know, it's funny. That's kind of the guy we had pegged to win, but I don't think any of us expected him to win quite like that.
Yeah, the manner in which he won, very much surprising there, and certainly thought that those old tires were going to do him in, but you know, 35 lap old tires to 10 lap old tires, and somehow, I mean, like you said, a little bit of damage perhaps from Levine pounding the fence, but somehow they still managed to do just enough to put it in victory circle there in the Dodge and Ford hybrid RPM transmissions vehicle, and he will burn it down here on the front straightaway at the Darlington Raceway here in celebratory fashion here, and just behind there at the back of the shot there, Justin Levine, I'm assuming in thank you manner rather than some sort of anger. But let's go ahead and looks like he's done with his celebration, so let's head down to the top of the trailer here and give you the finishing results here, and we'll do it with some kind of fun retro music, because why not? We'll get our results on the right page there. Johan Seminario with the win over 1/4 of a second over Justin Levine. Dakota Jorgensen with the third. Ty Ippolito with a 4th. And then we have Chad Gunningsman. Talked to him earlier. He was confident in his run. He gets a top 5. Gage Swan 6th. Tanner Marty hit everything with the jackpot, finished in 7th. Timothy Latham, basically you could say the same thing. He had a fast car, but he'll have to settle for an 8th. Kendall Levron led some laps, had a chance, but he'll fall to 9th. Corey Saucier was all over the place here tonight, but still gets a top 10.
And P11, Jason D. Baker, you mentioned he had a quiet night, and hey, sometimes a quiet, good points day is all you need. Heath Snyder in that 29, very eventful. He was on camera quite a bit tonight, brings it on P12. Justin Boyles up and down, winds up in 13th. Jordan Sailors started at the tail end of the field, wound up 14th. Dave Hughes Jr. was the last running car as he had big issues. I believe he finished 31 laps down. Kyle Francis Lee Miller, P16. 17 goes to Scott Healy. Kenny Reel, 18th. Devin Medeiros, P19, and Joshua Campbell, P20. Running out the rest of the field, Brian Mabry, who did not grid, and J.D. Baker, who parked it very early on, or maybe he didn't grid at all. And that is the field.
All right, let's see who we have in our trailer of drivers to grab a win. And I think I always usually take the winner, Andre, so I can let you head down to victory circle here tonight with our race winner.
Johan, you got a copy?
Yeah.
Well, man, you definitely had the fastest car on the track. I mean, early on, you were so dominant, pulling away, and then the strategy kind of threw a wrench into things. It got you back in traffic. The car didn't look quite as good when you were in the dirty air, and it was a bit of a struggle, but you wound up on top anyway. How were you feeling behind the wheel of that 56 tonight?
You know, I felt just incredibly confident in the car. You know, the setup was just really well made. It was a bummer that I went down into the pits across the caution cone. I had to go to the back of the field, so I was a little concerned on that. So I risked it and sent it hard and took my extra tires early, but I also saved near the end just in case if this happened. And luckily I still had the grip in the car to pull away.
Yeah, that last restart, so you were on 30 lap old tires. The driver behind you had 10 lap fresh tires. What was going through your mind? Did you expect to be able to hold them off, or what was the game plan?
You know, it all just went down to that first corner. You know, that if Justin was like, if he had a run on me, I already knew like it was gonna be really tough for me to hold him off. Unfortunately for him, but fortunately for me as well, we both kind of hit the wall and exit of turn 2. So it kind of kept us in the same spacing. So at that point, I felt confident enough where I wasn't going to spin myself out to take the win. But if he hadn't hit the wall, I'm sure he would have been right behind me. Would have been like a 1-2 side-by-side finish.
That could have been. Of course, next race on the schedule is going to be Nashville Super Speedway. Bit different from Darlington. It's a concrete surface, kind of a smaller trialable. You have a race there?
It's one of my favorites.
All right, one of your favorites. So you're maybe going to go back to back?
I hope so. I'm going to do my best.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the win.
Appreciate it. If it's okay if I can give some thanks, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. I'd like to give a thanks to my team, Yellow Stripes Sim Sport, as well as RPM Transmissions. Also, shout out to all my friends, Danny, Maddie, my girlfriend Becca, and everybody for supporting me. You know, they don't have to stay up and watch me, but they do it out of support, and I really appreciate that, and all my other close friends. So thank you to all of you guys. You guys rock.
All right. Well, congrats on the win. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Race winner out of the booth, and we'll let Corey take away P2.
All right, we got Justin. Well, Justin, you had the tires, you had basically the setup. I mean, both under the hood and kind of in structure of the race, but just didn't have enough to get Johan there at the very end. Talk about that green-white checker with the fresh tires, but ultimately how it worked out for you.
Man, I tried there. I made a last race adjustment there, trying to get the car to rotate a little better, and I think I just put it in the ground a little too much, and when I came out of turn 2 it just went dead straight to the wall, and that's basically all she wrote. Johan did a great job, and good for him.
Yeah, he seemed to have like the lights out speed in the first stage, but then he got back in traffic, and then you and Timothy and I think even Gage were able to really hang with him there and kind of give him his trouble. So what was it like there when we were having those long green flag runs? Did you have some good faith in the car? Were you having fun out there? And obviously it turned into a little bit of a cluster with the yellows at the end.
Definitely have fun here. This is such a driver track, but clean air was the key here. I knew in the second stage that I had to race and with everything I had, and it was working for the time being. And then we did that after the second stage, or the first stage, I mean. I had to make sure that I try to beat Tim and Johan off pit road, and I put it in the wall there. And unfortunately, when I tried to do crossover on Tim, it just plowed, and I hit all three.
Yeah, it didn't work out for you. And we obviously next week heading to Nashville Super Speedway. We just got the intel from Johan that it's one of his favorite tracks, and he has some confidence in going back to back. So, do you share that same sentiment, or what's your luck heading into Nashville next week?
Up in the air. I don't recall ever racing the NextGen at Nashville. I think I was away last year when iRacing was here. So it's going to be a learning curve for me. But we're going to give it my all and hopefully at least be able to compete.
All right, man. Well, thanks for talking to us. Solid run, and we'll see if we talk to you on the podium next week.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
And then now Andre will talk to Dakota Jorgensen here. And our third place finisher, I don't think we talked to him in an interview yet. If we have, it's been a while, but Dakota up in the booth with Andre.
Got a copy, Dakota? Dakota Jorgensen, you got a copy?
Nope.
All right. Well, Dakota, you had a really up and down night. We saw you a little bit further back, kind of got involved in some scuffles, and then by the time we got down to the thick of it here at the end, you found yourself up front. You made the most of it, finishing on the podium. Tell me a little bit about your race.
I mean, like you said, it was kind of up and down. The car just didn't fire off worth a darn at all, so unfortunately with all these restarts, it just wouldn't fire off, and so I'd fall back a little bit, and then when we get going, be able to make a few spots back up, but thankfully guys kind of got in wrecks and we stayed clean, or as clean as we could at the end with all the wrecks, and came out with a solid.
That you did, and you kind of already mentioned, the race got a little bit crazier towards the end. First stage clean and green the whole way, and then all of a sudden just a cluster of cautions later on. What was your mindset while everybody else was getting really aggressive? Were you just trying to play it safe and keep yourself alive, or were you kind of with them in the aggression and just trying to take some positions?
I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a clean car, your odds are going to be a lot better than if the car's beat up. So I mean, it just kind of was biding time, and if if I ended up finishing, 6th, 7th, 8th, whatever, still solid points day. Things kind of just went my way, and I ended up 3rd. I do want to apologize to Gage. He was out there on tires at the end and rolled into one a little bit better than he did and got into him. That was definitely not intentional at all. Thankfully, he ended up salvaging, I think, a 6th place finish, but...
All right. Well, next on the schedule, we're going to Nashville Super Speedway. How do you feel about racing there?
It's whatever. I've only raced there a handful of times on the sim, so hopefully I can get some good practice and see what happens next week. Or I guess it's like 2 weeks away.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the podium. Hopefully you can double down, get another good points day next week, and we'll be seeing you then.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Dakota out of the booth now. Corey, I believe Dave Feud Jr. is pretty much getting ready to announce the winner of the throwback poll.
Yep, we got the admin here in the booth. Of course, it was throwback night. We know everybody had their liveries ready to shine, and the contest poll had 350 some odd votes. Dave, and I think you have the results and the winner for us of our contest.
I do, and just so happens you were talking to him just a second ago with the spam car, Dakota Jorgensen. I mean, you gotta love the spam.
I mean, we were actually talking about that earlier in the race. I mean, do people actually eat spam anymore? Is it really a thing? But
I don't know, but they sure do love the spam paint scheme, apparently.
Yeah, the car does look good. The food may not be all that, but the car, it's pretty iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so, like, I remember when he posted it, and I was like, oh, yeah. Because, I mean, so many 9s through the years, right? And to pull out the spam car, that was a nice touch. So I think it's well deserved. It's simple. It's such a great color of blue with the combination of yellow. It was just a wonderful selection, so I think he deserves it.
Yep, he did, and I think the final tally on it was 15% of the votes to about 10.5 for Bodine there with Timothy Latham's car. Now, obviously for you, Dave, not the best of runs here. The lady in black definitely bit you a few times, but we talked to the guys about Nashville coming up in... actually, why did I keep saying Nashville? Is that next? Schedule. Hi, I told everyone we're going to Nashville. We're going to Charlotte in 2 weeks. I just screwed everybody up.
Thanks, Corey.
Yeah. When you said Nashville, I was like, wait a minute, I'm not sure what
I'm looking at, I knew it's the end of the
but,
group, but I just completely missed that group. So tell everybody that Corey screwed them all up. So what are your odds headed into Charlotte in 2 weeks' time?
Well, I mean, Charlotte is it's a fun track. And it's a lot more fun than Darlington, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's a fun track. Turn 4 can be really treacherous, so always watch out for turn 4. Gets real narrow and tight. Lots of speed carried through there. So that'll definitely that wall's going to reach out and grab a few people probably. And it's going to be fun. You know, the last race we run there was really competitive. So look forward to Charlotte again and washing off this lady in black off of me because it was dirty tonight. It was dirty.
Yeah, well, you got the good end of the stick at Dover, and obviously it kind of went back to equilibrium here. But thanks for giving us that result, and we'll talk to you in a few weeks' time.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good couple weeks off, and we'll see you here in 2 weeks after Memorial Day.
Sounds good, man. Thanks. So, as I said there, not at Nashville. I was looking at the schedule, and I knew this was the end of a group, and then I just immediately skipped 3 weeks. So, yeah. So I'm gonna watch these. I'm gonna have to tell these drivers don't test Nashville here. But either way, that's a broadcast here. So, as alluded, we are gonna have a 3-week hiatus. We'll be back here on June 6th for Charlotte, so make sure you stay tuned for that. We'll be back here on Thursday night with the Red Sox Racing League with their multi-class GT3 and LMP2 campaign, and then we'll be right back here. No, we're actually off on Friday too, because It's All-Star Week, so no D2 broadcast. So it's going to be a light week here on PTRTV, so just stay tuned to socials for the next coming event. But that's Corey and Andre signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.